Chapter 16. Miscellaneous Legends. The Unnatural People. The Shanhai Qing, or Hill and River Classic, contains descriptions of some curious people supposed to inhabit the regions on the maps represented on the 9 tripod vases of the Great Yu. First Emperor of the Xia dynasty. The Pygmies. The Pygmies inhabit many mountainous regions of the empire, but are few in number. They are less than 9 inches high, but are well formed. They live in thatched houses that resemble ants' nests. When they walk out they go in companies of from 6 to 10, joining hands in a line for mutual protection against birds that might carry them away, or other creatures that might attack them. Their tone of voice is too low to be distinguished by an ordinary human ear. They occupy themselves in working in wood, gold, silver, and precious stones, but a small proportion are tillers of the soil. They wear clothes of a red color. The sexes are distinguishable by a slight beard on the men, and long tresses on the women, the latter in some cases reaching 4 to 5 inches in length. Their heads are unduly large, being quite out of proportion to their small bodies. A husband and wife usually go about hand in hand. A Hakka charcoal burner once found 3 of the children playing in his tobacco box. He kept them there, and afterward, when he was showing them to a friend, he laughed so that drops of saliva flew from his mouth and shot 2 of them dead. He then begged his friend to take the third and put it in a place of safety before he should laugh again. His friend attempted to lift it from the box, but it died on being touched. The Giants. In the country of the giants the people are 50 feet in height. Their footprints are 6 feet in length. Their teeth are like those of a saw. Their fingernails present the appearance of hooked claws, while their diet consists wholly of uncooked animal food. Their eyebrows are of such length as to protrude from the front of the carts in which they ride, large though it is necessary for these vehicles to be. Their bodies are covered with long black hair resembling that of the bear. They live to the advanced age of 18,000 years. Though cannibals, they never eat members of their own tribe, confining their indulgence in human flesh chiefly to enemies taken in battle. Their country extends some thousands of miles along certain mountain ranges in northeastern Asia, in the passes of which they have strong iron gates, easy to close, but difficult to open. Hence, though their neighbors maintain large standing armies, they have thus far never been conquered. The Headless People. The Headless People inhabit the Long Sheep Range, to which their ancestors were banished in the remote past for an offense against the gods. One of the said ancestors had entered into a controversy with the rulers of the heavens, and they in their anger had transformed his 2 breasts into eyes and his navel into a mouth, removed his head, leaving him without nose and ears. Thus cutting him off from smell and sound, and banished him to the Long Sheep Mountains, where with a shield and axe, the only weapons vouchsafed to the people of the headless country. He and his posterity were compelled to defend themselves from their enemies and provide their subsistence. This, however, does not in the least seem to have affected their tempers, as their bodies are wreathed in perpetual smiles, except when they flourish their warlike weapons on the approach of an enemy. They are not without understanding, because, according to Chinese notions of physiology, their bellies are full of wisdom. The Armless People. In the mountains of the Sun and Moon, which are in the center of the Great Waste, are the people who have no arms, but whose legs instead grow out of their shoulders. They pick flowers with their toes. They bow by raising the body horizontal with the shoulders, thus turning the face to the ground. The long-armed and long-legged people. The long-armed people are about 30 feet high, their arms reaching from the shoulders to the ground. Once when a company of explorers was passing through the country which borders on the eastern sea they inquired of an old man if he knew whether or not there were people dwelling beyond the waters. He replied that a cloth garment, in fashion and texture not unlike that of a Chinese coat, with sleeves 30 feet in length, had been found in the sea. The explorers fitted out an expedition, and the discovery of the long-armed country was the result. The natives subsist for the most part on fish, which they obtain by wading in the water, and taking the fish with their hands instead of with hooks or nets. The arms of the long-legged people are of a normal length, the legs are developed to a length corresponding to that of the arms of the long-armed people. The country of the latter borders on that of the long legs. The habits and food of the two are similar. The difference in their physical structure makes them of mutual assistance, those with the long arms being able to take the shellfish of the shallow waters, while those with the long legs take the surface fish from the deeper localities. Thus the two gather a harvest otherwise unobtainable, the one-eyed people and others. A little to the east of the country of the long legs are to be found the one-eyed people. They have but one eye, rather larger than the ordinary human eye, placed in the center of the forehead, directly above the nose. Other clans or families have but one arm and one leg, some having a right arm and left leg, others a left arm and right leg, while still others have both on the same side, and go in pairs, like shoes. Another species not only has but one arm and one leg, but is of such fashion as to have but one eye, one nostril, and beard on but one side of the face, there being as it were rights and lefts, the two in reality being one. For it is in this way that they pair. The long-eared people resemble Chinese in all except their ears. They live in the far west among mountains and in caves. Their pendant, flabby ears extend to the ground, and would impede their feet in walking if they did not support them on their hands. They are sensitive to the faintest sound. Still another people in this region are distinguished by having 6 toes on each foot. The feathered people, etc. The feathered people are very tall, and are covered with fluffy down. They have wings in place of arms, and can fly short distances. On the points of the wings are claws, which serve as hands. Their noses are like beaks. Gentle and timid, they do not leave their own country. They have good voices, and like to sing ballads. If one wishes to visit this people he must go far to the southeast and then inquire. There is also the land of the people with 3 faces, who live in the center of the great waste and never die. The land of the 3 heads, east of the Kunlun mountains, the 3-body country, the inhabitants of which have 1 head with 3 bodies, 3 arms, and but 2 legs. And yet another where the people have square heads, broad shoulders, and 3 legs, and the stones on the land are all gold and jade. The people of the punctured bodies. Another community is said to be composed of people who have holes through their chests. They can be carried about on a pole put through the orifice, or may be comfortably hung upon a peg. They sometimes string themselves on a rope, and thus walk out in file. They are harmless people, and eat snakes that they kill with bows and arrows, and they are very long-lived. The Women's Kingdom. The Women's Kingdom, the country inhabited exclusively by women, is said to be surrounded by a sea of less density than ordinary water, so that ships sink on approaching the shores. It has been reached only by boats carried thither in whirlwinds, and but few of those wrecked on its rocks have survived and returned to tell of its wonders. The women have houses, gardens, and shops. Instead of money they use gems, perforated and strung like beads. They reproduce their kind by sleeping where the south wind blows upon them. The land of the flying cart. Situated to the north of the plain of great joy, the land of the flying cart joins the country of the one-armed people on the southwest and that of the 3-bodied people on the southeast. The inhabitants have but 1 arm, and an additional eye of large size in the center of the forehead, making 3 eyes in all. Their carts, though wheeled, do not run along the ground, but chase each other in mid-air as gracefully as a flock of swallows. The vehicles have a kind of winged framework at each end, and the one-armed occupants, each grasping a flag, talk and laugh one to another in great glee during what might be called their aerial recreation were it not for the fact that it seems to be their sole occupation. The Expectant Wife. A curious legend is told regarding a solitary, weird figure which stands out, rudely weather-worn, from a hilltop in the pass called Shaoxing Gorge, Canton Province. This point of the pass is called Lung Men, or Dragon's Mouth, and the hill the Husband Expecting Hill. The figure itself, which is called the Expectant Wife, resembles that of a woman. Her bent head and figure down to the waist are very lifelike. The story, widely known in this and the neighboring province, runs as follows. Centuries ago a certain poor woman was left by her husband, who went on a journey into Kongzi, close by, but in those days considered a wild and distant region, full of dangers. He promised to return in 3 years. The time went slowly and sadly past, for she dearly loved her lord, but no husband appeared. He, ungrateful and unfaithful spouse, had fallen in love with a fair one in Kongzi, a sorceress or witch, who threw a spell over him and charmed him to his destruction, turning him at length into stone. To this day his figure may be seen standing near a cave close by the river which is known by the name of the Detained Man Cave. The wife, broken by grief at her husband's failure to return, was likewise turned into a stone, and it is said that a supernatural power will one day bring the couple to life again and reward the ever-faithful wife. The legend receives entire credence from the simple boatman's sad country people, the wild men. The wild beasts of the mountain have a king. He is a wild man, with long, thick locks, fiery red in color, and his body is covered with hair. He is very strong, with a single blow of his huge fist, he can break large rocks to pieces, he also can pull up the trees of the forest by the root. His flesh is as hard as iron and is invulnerable to the thrusts of knife, spear, or sword. He rides upon a tiger when he leaves his home, he rules over the wolves, leopards, and tigers, and governs all their affairs. Many other wild men, like him in appearance, live in these mountains, but on account of his great strength he alone is king. These wild men kill and eat all human beings they meet, and other hill tribes live in terror of meeting them. Indeed, who of all these mountain people would have been left alive had not some men, more crafty than their fellows, devised a means of overpowering these fierce savages? This is the method referred to. On leaving his home the herb-gatherer of the mountains arms himself with 2 large hollow bamboo tubes which he slips over his wrists and arms. He also carries a jar of very strong wine. When he meets one of the wild men he stands still and allows the giant to grasp him by the arm. As the giant holds him fast, as he supposes, in his firm grasp, he quietly and slowly withdraws one arm from the bamboo cuff, and, taking the pot of wine from the other hand, quickly pours it down the throat of the stooping giant, whose mouth is wide open with immoderate laughter at the thought of having captured a victim so easily. The potent draught of wine acts at once, causing the victim to drop to the ground in a dead sleep, whereupon the herb-gatherer either dispatches him summarily with a thrust through the heart, or leaves the drunken tyrant to sleep off the effect of his draught, while he returns again to his work of collecting the health-restoring herbs. In this way have the numbers of these wild men become less and less, until at the present time but few remain, the jointed snake. The people on Ome Shan tell of a wonderful kind of snake that is said to live there. Part of its life is spent among the branches of the trees. If by chance it falls to the ground it breaks up into 2 or more pieces. These separate segments later on come together again and unite. Many other marvelous and interesting tales are related of this mountain and its inhabitants. The casting of the Great Bell. In every province of China there is a legend relating to the casting of the great bell swung in the bell tower of the chief city. These legends are curiously identical in almost every detail. The following is the one current in Peking. It was in the reign of Yung Lo, the 3rd monarch of the Ming dynasty, that Peking first became the capital of China. Till that period the Son of Heaven had held his court at Nanking, and Peking had been of comparatively little note. Now, however, on being honored by the sacred presence, stately buildings arose in all directions for the accommodation of the emperor and his courtiers. Clever men from all parts of the empire were attracted to the capital, and such as possessed talent were sure of lucrative employment. About this time the drum tower and the bell tower were built, both of them as lookout and alarm towers. The drum tower was furnished with a monster drum, which it still possesses, of such a size that the thunder of its tones might be heard all over the city, the sound being almost enough to waken the dead. The bell tower had been completed some time before attempts were made to cast a bell proportionate to the size of the building. At length Yung Lo ordered Kuan Yu, a mandarin of the 2nd grade, who was skilled in casting guns, to cast a bell the sound of which should be heard, on the least alarm, in every part of the city. Kuan Yu at once commenced the undertaking. He secured the services of a great number of experienced workmen, and collected immense quantities of material. Months passed, and at length it was announced to the emperor that everything was ready for the casting. A day was appointed. The emperor, surrounded by a crowd of courtiers, and preceded by the court musicians, went to witness the ceremony. At a given signal, and to the crash of music, the melted metal rushed into the mold prepared for it. The emperor and his court then retired, leaving Kuan Yu and his subordinates to await the cooling of the metal, which would tell of failure or success. At length the metal was sufficiently cool to detach the mold from it. Kuan Yu, in breathless trepidation, hastened to inspect it, but to his mortification and grief discovered it to be honeycombed in many places. The circumstance was reported to the emperor, who was naturally vexed at the expenditure of so much time, labor, and money with so unsatisfactory a result. However, he ordered Kuan Yu to try again. The Mandarin hastened to obey, and, thinking the failure of the first attempt must have resulted from some oversight or omission on his part, he watched every detail with redoubled care and attention. Fully determined that no neglect or remissness should mar the success of this second casting. After months of labor the mold was again prepared, and the metal poured into it, but again with the same result. Kuan Yu was distracted, not only at the loss of his reputation, but at the certain loss of the emperor's favor. Young Lo, when he heard of this second failure, was very wroth, and at once ordered Kuan Yu into his presence, and told him he would give him a third and last trial, and if he did not succeed this time he would behead him. Kuan Yu went home in a despairing state of mind, asking himself what crime he or any of his ancestors could have committed to have justified this calamity. Now Kuan Yu had an only daughter, about 16 years of age, and, having no sons, the whole of his love was centered in this girl, for he had hopes of perpetuating his name and fame through her marriage with some deserving young nobleman. Truly she was worthy of being loved. She had almond-shaped eyes, like the autumn waves, which, sparkling and dancing in the sun, seemed to leap up in very joy and wantonness to kiss the fragrant reeds that grow upon the river's banks. Yet of such limpid transparency that one's form could be seen in their liquid depths as if reflected in a mirror. These were surrounded by long silken lashes, now drooping in coy modesty, anon rising in youthful gaiety and disclosing the laughing eyes but just before concealed beneath them. Eyebrows like the willow leaf. Cheeks of snowy whiteness, yet tinged with the gentlest coloring of the rose, teeth like pearls of the finest water were seen peeping from between half-open lips, so luscious and juicy that they resembled two cherries. Hair of the jettiest blackness and of the silkiest texture. Her form was such as poets love to describe and painters limn, there was grace and ease in every movement, she appeared to glide rather than walk, so light was she of foot. Add to her other charms that she was skillful in verse-making, excellent in embroidery, and unequalled in the execution of her household duties, and we have but a faint description of Koai, the beautiful daughter of Kuan Yu. Well might the father be proud of and love his beautiful child, and she returned his love with all the ardor of her affectionate nature, often cheering him with her innocent gaiety when he returned from his daily vocations wearied or vexed. Seeing him now return with despair depicted in his countenance, she tenderly inquired the cause, not without hope of being the means of alleviating it. When her father told her of his failures, and of the emperor's threat, she exclaimed, "Oh, my father, be comforted. Heaven will not always be thus unrelenting. Are we not told that out of evil cometh good? These two failures will but enhance the glory of your eventual success, for success this time must crown your efforts. I am only a girl, and cannot assist you but with my prayers, these I will daily and hourly offer up for your success. And the prayers of a daughter for a loved parent must be heard." Somewhat soothed by the endearments of Koai, Kuan Yu again devoted himself to his task with redoubled energy, Koai meanwhile constantly praying for him in his absence, and ministering to his wants when he returned home. One day it occurred to the maiden to go to a celebrated astrologer to ascertain the cause of these failures, and to ask what means could be taken to prevent a recurrence of them. She thus learned that the next casting would also be a disappointment if the blood of a maiden were not mixed with the ingredients. She returned home full of horror at this information, yet inwardly resolving to immolate herself rather than allow her father to fail. The day for the casting at length came, and Koai requested her father to allow her to witness the ceremony and to exult in his success, as she laughingly said. Kuan Yu gave his consent, and accompanied by several servants she went, taking up a position near the mold. Everything was prepared as before. An immense concourse assembled to witness the third and final casting, which was to result either in honor or degradation and death for Kuan Yu. A dead silence prevailed through the vast assemblage as the melted metal once more rushed to its destination. This was broken by a shriek and a cry, "For my father," and Koai was seen to throw herself headlong into the seething, hissing metal. One of her servants attempted to seize her while in the act of plunging into the boiling fluid, but succeeded only in grasping one of her shoes, which came off in his hand. The father was frantic, and had to be kept by force from following her example. He was taken home a raving maniac. The prediction of the astrologer was fulfilled, for, on uncovering the bell after it had cooled, it was found to be perfect, but not a vestige of Koai was to be seen. The blood of a maiden had indeed been infused with the ingredients. After a time the bell was suspended by order of the emperor, and expectation was at its height to hear it rung for the first time. The emperor himself was present. The bell was struck, and far and near was heard the deep tone of its sonorous boom. This indeed was a triumph. Here was a bell surpassing in size and sound any other that had ever been cast. And the surrounding multitudes were horror-struck as they listened. The heavy boom of the bell was followed by a low wailing sound like the agonized cry of a woman, and the word "si," shu, was distinctly heard. To this day the bell, each time it is rung, after every boom appears to utter the word "si," and people when they hear it shudder and say, "There's poor Koai's voice calling for her shu." The Cursed Temple. The reign of Xie Chengcheng, the last monarch of the Ming dynasty, was much troubled both by internal broils and by wars. He was constantly threatened by Tartar hordes from without, though these were generally beaten back by the celebrated general Wu Sankei, and the country was perpetually in a state of anarchy and confusion, being overrun by bands of marauding rebels. Indeed, so bold did these become under a chief named Li Tzu Xiecheng that they actually marched on the capital with the avowed intention of placing their leader on the dragon throne. Xie Chengcheng, on the reception of this startling news, with no one that he could trust in such an emergency, for Wu Sankei was absent on an expedition against the Tartars, was at his wits' end. The insurgents were almost in sight of Peking, and at any moment might arrive. Rebellion threatened in the city itself. If he went out boldly to attack the oncoming rebels, his own troops might go over to the enemy, or deliver him into their hands. If he stayed in the city, the people would naturally attribute it to pusillanimity, and probably open the gates to the rebels. In this strait he resolved to go to the San Quan Miao, an imperial temple situated near the Chaoyangmen, and inquire of the gods as to what he should do, and decide his fate by drawing the slip. If he drew a long slip, this would be a good omen, and he would boldly march out to meet the rebels, confident of victory. If a middle-length one, he would remain quietly in the palace and passively await whatever might happen. But if he should unfortunately draw a short one, he would take his own life rather than suffer death at the hands of the rebels. Upon arrival at the temple, in the presence of the high officers of his court, the sacrifices were offered up, and the incense burnt, previous to drawing the slip on which hung the destiny of an empire. While Xie Chengcheng himself remained on his knees in prayer. At the conclusion of the sacrificial ceremony, the tube containing the bamboo fortune-telling sticks was placed in the emperor's hand by one of the priests. His courtiers and the attendant priests stood round in breathless suspense, watching him as he swayed the tube to and fro. At length one fell to the ground. There was dead silence as it was raised by a priest and handed to the emperor. It was a short one. Dismay fell on every one present, no one daring to break the painful, horrible silence. After a pause the emperor, with a cry of mingled rage and despair, dashed the slip to the ground, exclaiming, "May this temple built by my ancestors evermore be accursed. Henceforward may every suppliant be denied what he entreats, as I have been. Those who come in sorrow, may that sorrow be doubled, in happiness, may that happiness be changed to misery, in hope, may they meet despair, in health, sickness, in the pride of life and strength, death. Cheng, the last of the Mings, curse it. Without another word he retired, followed by his courtiers, proceeded at once to the palace, and went straight to the apartments of the empress. The next morning he and his empress were found suspended from a tree on Prospect Hill. In their death they were not divided. The scenes that followed. How the rebels took possession of the city and were driven out again by the Chinese general, assisted by the Tartars, how the Tartars finally succeeded in establishing the Manchu dynasty, are all matters of history. The words used by the emperor at the temple were prophetic: he was the last of the Mings. The tree on which the monarch of a mighty empire closed his career and brought the Ming dynasty to an end was ordered to be surrounded with chains. It still exists, and is still in chains. Upward of 270 years have passed since that time, yet the temple is standing as of old. But the halls that at one time were crowded with worshippers are now silent, no one ever venturing to worship there. It is the resort of the fox and the bat, and people at night pass it shudderingly. It is the cursed temple. The maniac's might. An interesting story is told of a lady named Chn, who was a Buddhist nun celebrated for her virtue and austerity. Between the years 1628 and 1643 she left her nunnery near Weihai City and set out on a long journey for the purpose of collecting subscriptions for casting a new image of the Buddha. She wandered through Shantung and Chile and finally reached Peking. And there, subscription book in hand, she stationed herself at the Great South Gate in order to take toll from those who wished to lay up for themselves treasures in the western heaven. The first passerby who took any notice of her was an amiable maniac. His dress was made of colored shreds and patches, and his general appearance was wild and uncouth. "Whither away, nun?" he asked. She explained that she was collecting subscriptions for the casting of a great image of Buddha, and had come all the way from Shantung. "Throughout my life," remarked the madman, "I was ever a generous giver." So, taking the nun's subscription book, he headed a page with his own name, in very large characters, and the amount subscribed. The amount in question was 2 cash, equivalent to a small fraction of a farthing. He then handed over the 2 small coins and went on his way. In course of time the nun returned to Weihai Wei with her subscriptions, and the work of casting the image was duly begun. When the time had come for the process of smelting, it was observed that the copper remained hard and intractable. Again and again the furnace was fed with fuel, but the shapeless mass of metal remained firm as a rock. The head workman, who was a man of wide experience, volunteered an explanation of the mystery. "An offering of great value must be missing," he said. "Let the collection book be examined so that it may be seen whose subscription has been withheld." The nun, who was standing by, immediately produced the madman's money, which on account of its minute value she had not taken the trouble to hand over. "There is 1 cash," she said, "and there is another. Certainly the offering of these must have been an act of the highest merit, and the giver must be a holy man who will some day attain Buddhahood." As she said this she threw the 2 cash into the midst of the cauldron. Great bubbles rose and burst, the metal melted and ran like the sap from a tree, limpid as flowing water, and in a few moments the work was accomplished and the new Buddha successfully cast. The city god of Yen Chicheng. The following story of the Chicheng Huang Pusa of Yen Chicheng, Salt City, is told by Helena von Possek in the East of Asia magazine, Volume 3, 1904, pages 169 to 171. This legend is also related of several other cities in China. The Chicheng Huang Pusa is, as already noted, the tutelary god of a city, his position in the unseen world answering to that of a Qi Xin, or district magistrate, among men, if the city under his care be a Xin. But if the city hold the rank of a Fu, it has, or used to have until recently, 2 Chicheng Huang Pusas, one a prefect, and the other a district magistrate. One part of his duty consists of sending small demons to carry off the spirits of the dying, of which spirits he afterward acts as ruler and judge. He is supposed to exercise special care over the Kuk, or spirits which have no descendants to worship and offer sacrifices to them. And on the occasion of the 7th-month festival he is carried round the city in his chair to maintain order among them, while the people offer food to them, and burn paper money for their benefit. He is also carried in procession at the Qingming festival, and on the first day of the 10th month. The Chenghuang Pusa of the city of Yen Cheng is in the extremely unfortunate predicament of having no skin to his face. Which fact is thus accounted for. Once upon a time there lived at Yen Cheng an orphan boy who was brought up by his uncle and aunt. He was just entering upon his teens when his aunt lost a gold hairpin, and accused him of having stolen it. The boy, whose conscience was clear in the matter, thought of a plan by which his innocence might be proved. "Let us go tomorrow to Chenghuang Pusa's temple," he said, "and I will there swear an oath before the god, so that he may manifest my innocence." They accordingly repaired to the temple, and the boy, solemnly addressing the idol, said, "If I have taken my aunt's gold pin, may my foot twist, and may I fall as I go out of your temple door." Alas for the poor suppliant! As he stepped over the threshold his foot twisted, and he fell to the ground. Of course, everybody was firmly convinced of his guilt, and what could the poor boy say when his own appeal to the god thus turned against him? After such a proof of his depravity his aunt had no room in her house for her orphan nephew, neither did he himself wish to stay with people who suspected him of theft. So he left the home which had sheltered him for years, and wandered out alone into the cold hard world. Many a hardship did he encounter, but with rare pluck he persevered in his studies, and at the age of 20-odd years became a mandarin. In course of time our hero returned to Yen Cheng to visit his uncle and aunt. While there he betook himself to the temple of the deity who had dealt so hardly with him, and prayed for a revelation as to the whereabouts of the lost hairpin. He slept that night in the temple, and was rewarded by a vision in which the Chenghuang Pusa told him that the pin would be found under the floor of his aunt's house. He hastened back, and informed his relatives, who took up the boards in the place indicated, and lo! There lay the long-lost pin. The women of the house then remembered that the pin had been used in pasting together the various layers of the soles of shoes, and, when night came, had been carelessly left on the table. No doubt rats, attracted by the smell of the paste which clung to it, had carried it off to their domains under the floor. The young mandarin joyfully returned to the temple, and offered sacrifices by way of thanksgiving to the Chenghuang Pusa for bringing his innocence to light. But he could not refrain from addressing to him what one is disposed to consider a well-merited reproach. "You made me fall down," he said, "and so led people to think I was guilty, and now you accept my gifts. Aren't you ashamed to do such a thing? You have no face." As he uttered the words all the plaster fell from the face of the idol, and was smashed into fragments. From that day forward the Chenghuang Pusa of Yen Cheng has had no skin on his face. People have tried to patch up the disfigured countenance, but in vain, the plaster always falls off, and the face remains skinless. Some try to defend the Chenghuang Pusa by saying that he was not at home on the day when his temple was visited by the accused boy and his relatives. And that one of the little demons employed by him in carrying off dead people's spirits out of sheer mischief perpetrated a practical joke on the poor boy. In that case it is certainly hard that his skin should so persistently testify against him by refusing to remain on his face, the origin of a lake. In the city of Taiyashin, Hubei, there is a large sheet of water known as the Liangti Lake. The people of the district give the following account of its origin. About 500 years ago, during the Ming dynasty, there was no lake where the broad waters now spread. A flourishing Xin city stood in the center of a populous country. The city was noted for its wickedness, but amid the wicked population dwelt one righteous woman, a strict vegetarian and a follower of all good works. In a vision of the night it was revealed to her that the city and neighborhood would be destroyed by water, and the sign promised was that when the stone lions in front of the yamen wept tears of blood, then destruction was near at hand. Like Jonah at Nineveh, the woman, known today simply as Nyang Tsu, walked up and down the streets of the city, warning all of the coming calamity. She was laughed at and looked upon as mad by the careless people. A pork butcher in the town, a noted wag, took some pig's blood and sprinkled it round the eyes of the stone lions. This had the desired effect, for when Kongzi saw the blood she fled from the city amid the jeers and laughter of the inhabitants. Before many hours had passed, however, the face of the sky darkened, a mighty earthquake shook the countryside, there was a great subsidence of the earth's surface, and the waters of the Yangtze River flowed into the hollow, burying the city and villages out of sight. But a spot of ground on which the good woman stood, after escaping from the doomed city, remained at its normal level, and it stands today in the midst of the lake, an island called Kongzi, a place at which boats anchor at night, or to which they fly for shelter from the storms that sweep the lake. They are saved today because of one good woman helped by the gods so long ago. As a proof of the truth of the above story, it is asserted that on clear days traces of the buried city may be seen, while occasionally a fisherman casting his net hauls up some household utensil or relic of bygone days. Miao creation legends. If the Miao have no written records, they have many legends in verse, which they learn to repeat and sing. The Hey Miao, or Black Miao, so called from their dark chocolate-colored clothes, treasure poetical legends of the creation and of a deluge. These are composed in lines of 5 syllables, in stanzas of unequal length, one interrogative and one responsive. They are sung or recited by 2 persons or 2 groups at feasts and festivals, often by a group of youths and a group of maidens. The legend of the creation commences. Who made heaven and earth? Who made insects? Who made men? Made male and made female? I who speak don't know. Heavenly King made heaven and earth. Z made insects. Z made men and demons. Made male and made female. How is it you don't know? How made heaven and earth? How made insects? How made men and demons? Made male and made female? I who speak don't know. Heavenly King was intelligent. Spat a lot of spittle into his hand. Clapped his hands with a noise. Produced heaven and earth. Tall grass made insects. Stories made men and demons. Made male and made female. How is it you don't know? The legend proceeds to state how and by whom the heavens were propped up and how the sun was made and fixed in its place, but the continuation is exceedingly silly. The legend of the flood is another very silly composition, but it is interesting to note that it tells of a great deluge. It commences. Who came to the bad disposition? To send fire and burn the hill? Who came to the bad disposition? To send water and destroy the earth? I who sing don't know. Zai did. Zai was of bad disposition. Zai sent fire and burned the hill. Thunder did. Thunder was of bad disposition. Thunder sent water and destroyed the earth. Why don't you know? In this story of the flood only 2 persons were saved in a large bottle gourd used as a boat, and these were a Zai and his sister. After the flood the brother wished his sister to become his wife, but she objected to this as not being proper. At length she proposed that one should take the upper and one the nether millstone, and going to opposite hills should set the stones rolling to the valley between. If these should be found in the valley properly adjusted one above the other she would be his wife, but not if they came to rest apart. The young man, considering it unlikely that 2 stones thus rolled down from opposite hills would be found in the valley one upon another, while pretending to accept the test suggested, secretly placed 2 other stones in the valley one upon the other. The stones rolled from the hills were lost in the tall wild grass, and on descending into the valley Zai called his sister to come and see the stones he had placed. She, however, was not satisfied, and suggested as another test that each should take a knife from a double sheath and, going again to the opposite hilltops, hurl them into the valley below. If both these knives were found in the sheath in the valley she would marry him, but if the knives were found apart they would live apart. Again the brother surreptitiously placed 2 knives in the sheath, and, the experiment ending as Zai wished, his sister became his wife. They had 1 child, a misshapen thing without arms or legs, which Zai in great anger killed and cut to pieces. He threw the pieces all over the hill, and next morning, on awaking, he found these pieces transformed into men and women. Thus the earth was repeopled. The dream of the South Branch. The dawn of Chinese Romantic literature must be ascribed to the period between the 8th and 10th centuries of our era, when the cultivation of the liberal arts received encouragement at the hands of sovereigns who had reunited the empire under the sway of a single ruler, and whose conquests and distant embassies attracted representatives from every Asiatic nation to their splendid court. It was during this period that the vast bulk of Indian literature was successfully attacked by a host of Buddhist translators, and that the alchemists and mechanicians of Central Asia, Persia, and the Byzantine Empire introduced their varied acquirements to the knowledge of the Chinese. With the flow of new learning which thus gained admittance to qualify the frigid and monotonous cultivation of the ancient classics and their commentators, there came also an impetus to indulgence in the license of imagination in which it is impossible to mistake the influence of Western minds. While the Sanskrit fables, on the one hand, passed into a Chinese dress, and contributed to the coloring of the popular mythology, the legends which circulated from mouth to mouth in the lively Arabian bazaars found, in like manner, an echo in the heart of China. Side by side with the mechanical efforts of rhythmical composition which constitute the national ideal of poetry, there began, during the middle period of the Tang dynasty, AD 618 to 907, to grow up a class of romantic tales in which the kinship of ideas with those that distinguish the products of Arabian genius is too marked to be ignored. The invisible world appears suddenly to open before the Chinese eye. The relations of the sexes overstep for a moment the chilling limit imposed by the traditions of Confucian decorum. A certain degree of freedom and geniality is, in a word, for the first time and only for a brief interval infused into the intellectual expression of a nation hitherto closely cramped in the bonds of a narrow pedantry. It was at this period that the drama began to flourish, and the germs of the modern novelist's art made their first appearance. Among the works of imagination dating from the period in question which have come down to the present day, there is perhaps none which better illustrates the effect of an exotic fancy upon the sober and methodical authorship of the Chinese, or which has left a more enduring mark upon the language, than the little tale which is given in translation in the following pages. The Nan Ko Meng, or Dream of the South Branch, as the title, literally translated, should read, is the work of a writer named Li Kongzi, who, from an incidental mention of his own experiences in Kongzi which appears in another of his tales, is ascertained to have lived at the beginning of the 9th century of our era. The Nan Ko, or South Branch, is the portion of a huai tree, Sephora japdonica, a tree well known in China, and somewhat resembling the American locust tree, in which the adventures narrated in the story are supposed to have occurred. And from this narrative of a dream, recalling more than one of the incidents recounted in the Arabian Nights, the Chinese have borrowed a metaphor to enrich the vocabulary of their literature. The equivalent of our own phrase, the baseless fabric of a vision, is in Chinese Nan Ko Chi Meng, a dream of the South Branch. Chun Fun enters the locust tree. Chun Fun, a native of Tungpanji, was by nature a gallant who had little regard for the proprieties of life, and whose principal enjoyment was found in indulgence in wine-bibbing in the society of boon companions. At one time he held a commission in the army, but this he lost through his dissipated conduct, and from that time he more than ever gave himself up to the pleasures of the wine-cup. One day, it was in the 9th moon of the 7th year of Qing Yuan, A.D. 791, after drinking heavily with a party of friends under a wide-spreading old locust tree near his house, he had to be carried to bed and there left to recover, his friends saying that they would leave him while they went to bathe their feet. The moment he laid down his head he fell into a deep slumber. In his dream appeared to him 2 men clothed in purple, who kneeling down informed him that they had been sent by their master the king of Huayan, locust tree peace, to request his presence. Unconsciously he rose, and, arranging his dress, followed his visitors to the door, where he saw a varnished chariot drawn by a white horse. On each side were ranged 7 attendants, by whom he was assisted to mount, whereupon the carriage drove off, and, going out of the garden gate, passed through a hole in the trunk of the locust tree already spoken of. Filled with astonishment, but too much afraid to speak. Chnu noticed that he was passing by hills and rivers, trees and roads, but of quite a different kind from those he was accustomed to. A few miles brought them to the walls of a city, the approach to which was lined with men and vehicles, who fell back at once the moment the order was given. Over the gate of the city was a pavilion on which was written in gold letters, "The capital of Huayan." As he passed through, the guard turned out, and a mounted officer, shouting that the husband of the king's daughter had arrived, showed him the way into a hall where he was to rest a while. The room contained fruits and flowers of every description, and on the tables was laid out a profuse display of refreshments. While Chnu still remained lost in astonishment, a cry was raised that the prime minister was coming. Chnu got up to meet him, and the two received each other with every demonstration of politeness. "He marries the king's daughter." The minister, looking at Chnu, said, "The king, my master, has brought you to this remote region in order to give his daughter in marriage to you." "How could I, a poor useless wretch," replied Chnu, "have ever aspired to such honor?" With these words both proceeded toward the audience chamber, passing through a hall lined with soldiers, among whom, to his great joy and surprise, Chnu recognized an old friend of his former drinking days, to whom he did not, however, then venture to speak. And, following the prime minister, he was ushered into the king's presence. The king, a man of noble bearing and imposing stature, was dressed in plain silk, a jeweled crown reposing on his head. Chnu was so awe-stricken that he was powerless even to look up, and the attendants on either side were obliged to remind him to make his prostrations. The king, addressing him, said, "Your father, small as my kingdom is, did not disdain to promise that you should marry my daughter." Chnu could not utter a word, he merely lay prostrate on the ground. After a few moments he was taken back to his apartments, and he busied his thoughts in trying to discover what all this meant. "My father," he said to himself, "fought on the northern frontier, and was taken prisoner. But whether his life was saved or not I don't know. It may be that this affair was settled while he was in those distant regions. That same night preparations were made for the marriage. And the rooms and passages were filled with damsels who passed and repassed, filling the air with the sound of their dancing and music. They surrounded Chnu and kept up a constant fire of witty remarks, while he sat there overcome by their grace and beauty, unable to say a word. "Do you remember," said one of them, coming up to Chnu, "the other day when with the lady Ling Chi I was listening to the service in the courtyard of a temple, and while I, with all the other girls, was sitting on the window step. You came up to us, talking nonsense, and trying to get up a flirtation. Don't you remember how we tied a handkerchief on the stem of a bamboo?" Then she continued, "Another time at a temple, when I threw down 2 gold hairpins and an ivory box as an offering, you asked the priest to let you look at the things, and after admiring them for a long time you turned toward me and said that neither the gifts nor the donor were of this world. And you wanted to know my name, and where I lived, but I wouldn't tell you, and then you gazed on me so tenderly, and could not take your eyes off me. You remember this, without doubt. I have ever treasured the recollection in my heart. How could I possibly forget it?" was Chnu's reply, whereat all the maidens exclaimed that they had never expected to see him in their midst on this joyful occasion. At this moment 3 men came up to Chnu and stated that they had been appointed his ministers. He stepped up to one of them and asked him if his name was not Suhua. "It is," was the reply. Whereupon Chnu, taking him by the hands, recalled to him their old friendship, and questioned him as to how he had found his way to this spot. He then proceeded to ask him if Chopian was also here. "He is," replied the other, "and holding very high office. He has often used his influence on my behalf." As they were talking, Chnu was summoned to the palace, and as he passed within, a curtain in front of him was drawn aside, disclosing a young girl of about 14 years of age. She was known as the Princess of the Golden Stem, and her dazzling beauty was well in keeping with her matchless grace that he writes to his father. The marriage was celebrated with all magnificence, and the young couple grew fonder from day to day. Their establishment was kept up in princely style, their principal amusement being the chase, the king himself frequently inviting Chnu to join him in hunting expeditions to the Tortoise-back Hill. As they were returning one day from one of these excursions, Chnu said to the king, "On my marriage day your majesty told me that it was my father's desire that I should espouse your daughter. My father was worsted in battle on the frontier, and for 17 years we have had no news of him. If your majesty knows his whereabouts, I would beg permission to go and see him." "Your father," replied the king, "is frequently heard of. You may send him a letter, it is not necessary to go to him." Accordingly a letter and some presents were got ready and sent, and in due time a reply was received, in which Chnu's father asked many questions about his relations, his son's occupation, but manifested no desire that the latter should come to him. He takes office. One day Chnu's wife asked him if he would not like to hold office. His answer was to the effect that he had always been a rolling stone, and had no experience of official affairs, but the princess promised to give him her assistance, and found occasion to speak on the subject to her father. In consequence the king one day told Chnu that he was not satisfied with the state of affairs in the south of his territory, that the present governor was old and useless, and that he would be pleased if he would proceed thither. Chnu bowed to the king's commands, and inwardly congratulated himself that such good fortune should have befallen a rover like him. He was supplied with a splendid outfit, and farewell entertainments were given in his honor. Before leaving he acknowledged to the king that he had no great confidence in his own powers, and suggested that he should be allowed to take with him Chopian and Suhua as commissioners of justice and finance. The king gave his consent, and issued the necessary instructions. The day of departure having arrived, both the king and the queen came to see Chnu and his wife off, and to Chnu the king said, "The province of Nankeo is rich and fertile. And the inhabitants are brave and prosperous, it is by kindness that you must rule them." To her daughter the queen said, "Your husband is violent and fond of wine. The duty of a wife is to be kind and submissive. Act well toward him, and I shall have no anxiety. Nankeo, it is true, is not very far, only 1 day's journey, still, in parting from you my tears will flow." Chnu and his bride waved a farewell, and were whirled away toward their destination, reaching Nankeo the same evening. Once settled in the place, Chnu set himself to become thoroughly acquainted with the manners and customs of the people, and to relieve distress. To Chopian and Suhua he confided all questions of administration, and in the course of 20 years a great improvement was to be noticed in the affairs of the province. The people showed their appreciation by erecting a monument to his honor, while the king conferred upon him an estate and the dignity of a title, and in recognition of their services promoted Chopian and Suhua to very high posts. Chnu's children also shared their father's rewards. The 2 sons were given office, while the 2 daughters were betrothed to members of the royal family. There remained nothing which could add to his fame and greatness. He meets with disasters. About this period the state of Tanlo made an incursion on the province of Nankeo. The king at once commanded that Chopian should proceed at the head of 30,000 men to repel the enemy. Chopian, full of confidence, attacked the foe, but sustained a disastrous defeat, and, barely escaping with his life, returned to the capital, leaving the invaders to plunder the country and retire. Chnu threw Chopian into prison, and asked the king what punishment should be visited upon him. His Majesty granted Chopian his pardon, but that same month he died of disease. A few days later Chnu's wife also fell ill and died, whereupon he begged permission to resign his post and return to court with his wife's remains. This request was granted, and Suhua was appointed in his stead. As Chnu, sad and dejected, was leaving the city with the funeral cortege, he found the road lined with people giving loud expression to their grief, and almost ready to prevent his taking his departure. He returns home. As he neared the capital the king and queen, dressed in mourning, were awaiting the bier in tears. The princess, after a posthumous title had been conferred upon her, was buried with great magnificence a few miles to the east of the city, while Chnu remained in the capital, living in such state, and gaining so much influence, that he excited the king's jealousy. And when it was foretold, by means of signs in the heavens, that ruin threatened the kingdom, that its inhabitants would be swept away, and that this would be the work of an alien. The prophecy seemed to point to ambitious designs on the part of Chnu, and means were taken to keep him under restraint. Chnu, conscious that he had faithfully filled a high office for many years, felt greatly grieved by these calumnies, a result which the king could not avoid noticing. He accordingly sent for Chnu, and said, "For more than 20 years we have been connections, although my poor daughter, unfortunately, has not been spared to be a companion to you in old age. Her mother is now taking care of her children. Your own home you have not seen for many years, return to see your friends, your children will be looked after, and in 3 years you will see them again. Is not this my home? Whither else am I to go?" was Chnu's reply. "My friend," the king said laughingly, "you are a human being, you don't belong to this place." At these words Chnu seemed to fall into a deep swoon, and he remained unconscious for some time, after which he began to recall some glimpses of the distant past. With tears in his eyes he begged that he might be allowed to return to his home, and, saying farewell, he departed. Outside the palace he found the same 2 officials in purple clothes who had led the way so many years ago. A conveyance was also there, but this time it was a mere bullock cart, with no outriders. He took the same road as before, and noticed the same hills and streams. The 2 officials were by no means imposing this time, and when he asked how far was his destination they continued to hum and whistle and paid no attention to him. At last they passed through an opening, and he recognized his own village, precisely as he had left it. The 2 officials desired him to get down and walk up the steps before him, where, much to his horror, he saw himself lying down in the porch. He was too much bedazed with terror to advance, but the 2 officials called out his name several times, and upon this he awoke. The servants were bustling about the house, and his 2 companions were still washing their feet. Everything was as he had left it, and the lifetime he had lived in his dream had occupied only a few moments. Calling out to his 2 friends, he made them follow him to the locust tree, and pointed out the opening through which he had begun his journey in dreamland. An axe was sent for, and the interior of the trunk thrown open, whereupon a series of galleries was laid bare. At the root of the tree a mound of earth was discovered, in shape like a city, and swarming with ants. This was the capital of the kingdom in which he had lived in his dream. A terrace surrounded by a guard of ants was the residence of the king and queen, 2 winged insects with red heads. 20 feet or so along another gallery was found an old tortoise shell covered with a thick growth of moss. It was the tortoise-back hill of the dream. In another direction was found a small mound of earth round which was coiled a root in shape like a dragon's tongue. It was the grave of the king's daughter, Chnu's wife in the vision. As he recalled each incident of the dream he was much affected at discovering its counterpart in this nest of ants, and he refused to allow his companions to disturb it further. They replaced everything as they had found it. But that night a storm of wind and rain came, and next morning not a vestige of the ants was to be seen. They had all disappeared, and here was the fulfillment of the warning in the dream, that the kingdom would be swept away. Chnu regenerate. At this time Chnu had not seen Chopian and Suhua for some 10 days. He sent a messenger to make inquiries about them, and the news he brought back was that Chopian was dead and Suhua lying ill. The fleeting nature of man's existence revealed itself to him as he recalled the greatness of these 2 men in the ant world. From that day he became a reformed man, drink and dissipation were put aside. After 3 years had elapsed he died, thus giving effect to the promise of the ant king that he should see his children once more at the end of 3 years. Why the young tribe have heads of dogs. The wave of conquest which swept from north to south in the earliest periods of Chinese history left on its way, like small islands in the ocean, certain remnants of aboriginal tribes which survived and continued to exist despite the sustained hostile attitude of the flood of alien settlers around them. When stationed at Fuchao I saw the settlements of one of these tribes which lived in the mountainous country not very many miles inland from that place. They were those of the young tribe, the members of which wore on their heads a large and peculiar headgear constructed of bamboo splints resting on a peg inserted in the chignon at the back of the head. The weight of the structure in front being counterbalanced by a pad, serving as a weight, attached to the end of the splints, which projected as far down as the middle of the shoulders. This framework was covered by a mantilla of red cloth which, when not rolled up, concealed the whole head and face. The following legend, related to me on the spot, explains the origin of this unusual headdress. Two tribes at war. In early times the chief of a Chinese tribe, another version says an emperor of China, was at war with the chief of another tribe who came to attack his territory from the west. The western chief so badly defeated the Chinese army that none of the generals or soldiers could be induced to renew hostilities and endeavor to drive the enemy back to his own country. This distressed the Chinese chief very much. As a last resort he issued a proclamation promising his daughter in marriage to anyone who would bring him the head of his enemy, the chief of the west. The chief's promise. The people in the palace talked much of this promise made by the chief, and their conversation was listened to by a fine large white dog belonging to one of the generals. This dog, having pondered the matter well, waited until midnight and then stole over to the tent of the enemy chief. The latter, as well as his guard, was asleep, or, if the guard was not, the dog succeeded in avoiding him in the darkness. Entering the tent, the dog gnawed through the chief's neck and carried his head off in his mouth. At dawn he placed it at the Chinese chief's feet, and waited for his reward. The chief was soon able to verify the fact that his enemy had been slain, for the headless body had caused so much consternation in the hostile army that it had already begun to retreat from Chinese territory. A strange contract. The dog then reminded the chief of his promise, and asked for his daughter's hand in marriage. "But how," said the chief, "can I possibly marry my daughter to a dog?" "Well," replied the dog, "will you agree to her marrying me if I change myself into a man?" This seemed a safe promise to make, and the chief agreed. The dog then stipulated that he should be placed under a large bell and that no one should move it or look into it for a space of 280 days. The chief's curiosity. This was done, and for 279 days the bell remained unmoved, but on the 280th day the chief could restrain his curiosity no longer, and tilting up the bell saw that the dog had changed into a man all except his head. The last day being required to complete the transformation. However, the spell was now broken, and the result was a man with a dog's head. Since it was the chief's fault that, through his over-inquisitiveness, the dog could not become altogether a man, he was obliged to keep his promise, and the wedding duly took place. The bridegroom's head being veiled for the occasion by a red mantilla. The origin of a custom. Unfortunately the fruit of the union took more after their father than their mother, and though comely of limb had exceedingly ugly features. They were therefore obliged to continue to wear the head covering adopted by their father at the marriage ceremony, and this became so much an integral part of the tribal costume that not only has it been worn ever since by their descendants, but a change of headgear has become synonymous with a change of husbands or a divorce. One account says that at the original bridal ceremony the bride wore the red mantilla to prevent her seeing her husband's ugly features, and that is why the headdress is worn by the women and not by the men. Or more generally by the former than the latter, though others say that it was originally worn by the ugly children of both sexes. And of a worship. This legend explains the dog worship of the Jung tribe, which now consists of 4 clans, with a separate surname, Lei, Chung, Lang, and Pan, to each, has a language of its own, and does not intermarry with the Fuchao natives. At about the time of the Old Chinese New Year, somewhere in February, they paint a large figure of a dog on a screen and worship it, saying it is their ancestor who was victorious over the Western invader. Conclusion. If the greatness of nations is to be judged by the greatness of their myths, using the word great in the sense of world famous and of perennial influence, there would be few great nations, and China would not be one of them. As stated in an earlier chapter, the design has been to give an account of Chinese myth as it is, and not as it might have been under imaginary conditions. But for the Chinese philosophers we should in all probability have had more Chinese myths, but philosophy is unifying, and without it we might have had a breakup of China and perhaps no myths at all. Or none specially belonging to China as a whole and separate independent nation. Had there been great, world-stirring myths there could hardly but have been also more wars, more cruelty, more wounding of the heart that weeps and trembles, more saturating of the earth with human blood. It is not a small thing to have conquered myth with philosophy, especially at a time when the Western world was still steeped in the grossest superstition. Therefore we may be thankful that the Chinese were and are a peace-loving, sober, agricultural, industrial, non-military, non-priest-ridden, literary, and philosophical people, and that we have instead of great myths a great people. But if the real test of greatness is purity and justice, then Chinese myth must be placed among the greatest of all, for it is not obscene, and it is invariably just. See Chapter 1. Compare the legend of the tailed Miao Tzu tribes named Yao, mountain dogs, or jackals, living on the mountain ranges in the northwest of Guangdong province, related in the Jai Chi So Chi. Glossary and index. The pronunciation of Chinese words. During the course of Chinese history the restriction of intercourse due to mountain chains or other natural obstacles between various tribes or divisions of the Chinese people led to the birth of a number of families of languages, which again became the parents of numerous local dialects. These dialects have in most cases restricted ranges, so that of one district may be partially or wholly unintelligible to the natives of another situated at a distance of only 100 miles or less. The court or government language is that spoken in Peking and the metropolitan district, and is the language of official communication throughout the country. Though neither the oldest nor the purest Chinese dialect, it seems destined more than any other to come into universal use in China. The natives of each province or district will of course continue to speak to each other in their own particular dialect, and foreign missionaries or merchants, for example, whose special duties or transactions are connected with special districts will naturally learn and use the dialects of those districts. But as a means of intercommunication generally between natives of different provinces, or between natives and foreigners, the court language seems likely to continue in use and to spread more and more over the whole country. It is to this that the following remarks apply. The essentials of correct pronunciation of Chinese are accuracy of sound, tone, and rhythm, sound. Vowels and diphthongs. A as in father. Ai as in Italian amai. Ao. Italian ao in aosta, sometimes aoo, the o in cotto. E in n, as in yet, lens. Ei. Nearly ey in gray, but more as in Italian lei, conti. E, the vowel sound in lurk. Ei. The foregoing e followed enclitically by y, money without the n equals may. The in per. I, as a single or final syllable the vowel sound in ease, tree, in ih, in ing, as in chick, thing. Ia generally as in the Italian Maria. Iai. The iai in the Italian vecchiaia. Iao as in ia and ao, with the terminal peculiarity of the latter. Ie as in the Italian siesta. Io. The French io in pioche. Iu as a final, longer than the English ew. In lu, nyo, almost lu, mu. In qiang, sung, young, is young, or in roll. O between vowel sound in aw and that in roll. Ou. Really eo, ou in round. U, the vowel sound in the French too, yut. Ua. Only in yuan, which in some tones is yun. The u as above, the n as in antic. Ue. The vowel sounds in the French too es. Uo. A disputed sound, used, if at all, interchangeably with io in certain syllables. U, the oo in tu, in un and ung as in the Italian punto. Ua. Nearly ooa, in many instances contracting to wa. Uai as in the Italian guai. Uei. The vowel sounds in the French jour. Ue. Only in final yun equals yuan, frequently one or one. Ui. The vowel sounds in screwy, in some tones uei. Uo. The Italian uo in fuori, often wa, and at times nearly oo. U, between the I in bit and the U in shut. Consonants. Ch as in chair, but before ih softened to dj. Ch. A strong breathing. Much harm without the italicized letters equals cha. F as in farm. H as ch in Scotch lock. Hs. A slight aspirate preceding and modifying the sibilant, which is, however, the stronger of the two consonants, e.g. shing equals hissing without the first I. J, nearly the French J in John, the English S in fusion. K, C in car, K in king. But when following other sounds often soften to G in go, gate. K. The aspirate as in ch. Kick hard without the italicized letters equals ka, and kick her equals ke. L as in English. M as in English. N as in English. Ing. The italicized letters in the French mon galant equals na, mon gallard equals ni, sun gasir equals ngo. P as in English. P, the Irish pronunciation of party, parliament. Slap hard without the italicized letters equals pa. S as in English. Sh as in English. SS. Only in Sioux. The object of employing SS is to fix attention on the peculiar vowel sound U, see above. T as in English. T, the Irish T in torment. Hit hard without the italicized letters equals ta. Ts as in jetsam. After another word softened to ds in gladsome. Ts. The aspirate intervening, as in ch, etc. Bets hard without the italicized letters equals tsa. Tz. Employed to mark the peculiarity of the final u, hardly of greater power than ts. Tz like ts. This, tz, and ss used only before u. W as in English, but very faint, or even non-existent, before u. Y as in English, but very faint before I or u. Tone. The correct pronunciation of the sound, in, is not sufficient to make a Chinese spoken word intelligible. Unless the tone, sheng, or musical note, is simultaneously correctly given, either the wrong meaning or no meaning at all will be conveyed. The tone is the key in which the voice is pitched. Accent is a song added to, and tone is emphasized accent. The number of these tones differs in the different dialects. In Pekingese there are now 4. They are best indicated in transliteration by numbers added to the sound, thus. Pa, 1, pa, 2, pa, 3, pa, 4. To say, for example, pa, 3, instead of pa, 1, would be as great a mistake as to say grasp instead of trumpet. Correctness of tone cannot be learnt except by oral instruction, rhythm. What tone is to the individual sound, rhythm is to the sentence. This also, together with proper appreciation of the mutual modifications of tone and rhythm, can be correctly acquired only by oral instruction. A Zai. In Miao Legend of the Creation. Absolute. Of Li Tzu. Accessory institutions. Education. Address, forms of. Administration. General, square, in feudal period, in monarchical period, in republican period. Aesthetic products. Age for marriage. Agents. The three great emperor agents. The 3 supreme agents. Agnosticism. Confucius and agriculture, square, ministry of agriculturists. Nung, the second class of the people. Heir. Sovereign of the Eastern, sovereign of the Western. Acadia. Supposed origin of the Chinese in All Souls' Day. Festival of, Mid-Autumn Festival. Alligator, the spiritual. Amida, Amida. Omitofo, Buddha. Amitba. See Amida. And Kong. God of sailors. Ancestor worship. The origin of Chinese religion, by rulers, ordinary, and Buddhism. A.O. A sea monster, raises the scholar K on its back. A.O. Chin. A dragon king, and the 8 immortals, SQ. A.O. Ping. Third son of Lung Wang. Aquila. Star. Legend regarding Vega and, SQ. Archer, the divine, SQ. Armless people. Legend of the artisans. Kong, the third class of the people. Arts. Astrological superstitions. Asuras. Buddhist demons, enemies of Devas. August. The pure August one. Yu Huang, B. Barge of mercy, Taoist. Beards. Little worn. Beginning. Of form, of pneuma, the great, of substance. Bell, casting of the great. Legend of, SQ. Bezor. Si Nyo Huang. Bible. Parallelisms of, with Chinese religious and mythological beliefs, N. Biographies of the gods. Shin Shin Chuan, by Ko Hung. Bird. Of dawn, the one-legged. Birth of the soul. Blackwater River, demons of. In the Shi Yu Chi. Blank, the great. Blower. CCHN Chi. Blue Dragon. Qing Lung, spirit of the Blue Dragon Star, guardian of Taoist temple gates, SQ. Blue River. Suen Chuang exposed in, as an infant. Book of Ceremonial. Li Chi. Book of History. Brothers, the Three Musical. Buddha. Ju Lai, and the Law and the Priesthood, Tathagata, Fo Pao, one of the San Pao, Shakyamuni, Yushi Fo, the Master Physician, Miao Shan, Kuan Yin, becomes a. His jumping competition with Sun Ho Tzu. Buddhism. As a Chinese religion, effect on mythology, one of the 3 religions, brought to China, Mahāyānistic form of, origin in ancestor worship, and Taoism, and Confucianism. Buddha, the law, and the priesthood. Buddhist S. The Count of Pan Ku, guardians of temple gates, evil dragons, number of dragons, savior of the Buddhists in Slokart's country, SQ. Buffalo. Of Tung Tien Chao Chu. Burial, methods of, SQ. Bushel Mother. C2 Mu. Butterfly. Chuang Tzu and the, N. C. Canon of Changes. C.I. Ching. Capture, marriage by. Carp. CHN Kongzi and the released. Cart, land of the flying. Cask of pearls. Wang Tan and the. Cause S. First, Yuan Shi Tian Sun, superior, medium, and inferior, the 3, SQ. Celestial ministries. Cemeteries, Chinese. Ceremonial institutions. Changes in marriage ceremonial, exacting nature of funeral rites. Codes of ceremonial. Chnu. Daughter of Ting Chiukung, helps her father, marries Tu Xingsun. Chang Fei. Chang Aite, the meat seller, and Kuan Yu, SQ. Chang Xin. The patron of childbearing women, square, shoots the heavenly dog. Spirit of the star Chang, origin of worship of. Chang Aite. Si Chang Fei. Chang Keifang. Defeated by no Cha. Chang Kwa. One of the 8 immortals, legend of. Chang Lao. The old priest who rescued the infant son of Chn Kuangji. Chang O, or Hang O, called Taiyin Huangchun and Yufu Chang O, the younger sister of the spirit of the waters, square, Shanai marries, eats pill of immortality. Flies to the moon, and the white rabbit, changed to a toad. Chang Shao. His fight with Nanchi Xinwang, defeated by white crane youth. Chang Taoling. The first Taoist Pope, square, finds ancient writings, founder of modern Taoism. And pills of immortality, and talismans, rice thief, his disciple, Wang Chang, Chao Xing plucks the peaches for, the heavenly teacher, vicegerent of pearly emperor, commander-in-chief of the hosts of Taoism. His descendants, and the dragon, and the spirits of the well, and the hunter. Chang Tian Shi. Master of the Taoists, Emperor Li Shimin and, square, causes death of the 5 graduates, gives magic objects to graduates. Changya. The god of Tsu Tung Sq. Change, the great. Changes, the canon of. Ci Ching. Chao Chen. Minister to Miao Chuang, becomes emperor. Chao Ke. Marries Miao Qing, conspires against Miao Chuang, Sq. Chao Kungming. Ctsai Shen. Chao Sheng. Plucks the peaches. Cjo Tuesday. A watchman, Li Tiquai and Chao Yen. His connection with Shou Xing. Chaos. Evolution of, and I too. Characteristics. Emotional, intellectual, and physical, of the Chinese. Charms. Use of, prevalent. Sichi. And the fox, Sq. Sichen. The officials, the first class of the people. Sichen. A Buddhist nun, collects subscriptions for casting an image of Buddha, and the maniacs might. Chen, Mr. A Fox, and Chia Tsulung, Sq. Chn Kongzi. A graduate of Haichou, appointed governor of Changzhou, and the released carp, murder of, by Lu Heng, his infant son exposed on the Blue River, his murderer executed, saved by Lung Wang. Is reunited with his family. See also Suen Chuang. Chn Chi, or Ha. The blower, his battle with the snorter, speared by Huang Feihu, canonized, appointed guardian of Buddha's temple gates, overthrows Ting Chiu Kung. Chen Zhen. The perfect man, or hero. Chen Shui Ta. Cuchuan Shan Ta. Ching Ching Si Chang. Choir mistress in nunnery of the White Bird. Ching Long, or Heng. The snorter, instructed by Tu O, his battle with the blower. Killed by Qin Tashing, canonized, appointed guardian of the Buddhist temple gates. Ching Tsung. Emperor, and the San Yuan, and Yu Huang, and the casket of pearls. Ching Huang, god of the city, Sq. Qi. Pneuma, primary matter. Chu Tzu and, Tao and. Qi Chou. The early seat of Chinese sovereignty. Chia Tsulung. And Mr. Chen, a fox, Sq. Chang Chou. Chn Kuangji appointed governor of. Chang Shang. Si Chang Tsuya. Chang Tsuya. His name Chang Shang, but known as Lu Shang, famous generalissimo, square, canonizes Heng in Ha, and Ting Chiu Kung, and Chu Lu Sun, and Yin Ching Su, and Battle of Mu Ye, transfers services to Chou, and Wu Wang. And No Cha, goes to Kunluen, receives list of promotions to immortals from Yuan Shi, disobeys Yuan Shi's commands, tempted by Shen Kung Pao, compact with Shen Kung Pao. Assisted by ancient immortal of the South Pole against Shen Kung Pao, intercedes for Shen Kung Pao, builds the Feng Shen Tai, in battle with Wen Cheng, square, wounds Wen Cheng, his encounter with Chien Li Yen and Shun Feng square. Causes death of Chao Kungming, confers uppunnage of the 28 constellations on Tung Tien Chao Chu and his followers, and Tai Sui, and Lei Tzu, and Lu Yu. Qin Tao Zhen. Fights with Tung Tien Chao Chu. Chien Li Yen, or Cao Ming. Thousand Li I, square, general of Tyrant Chou, encounters with No Cha, Yang Qian, Chang Tsuya, Li Qing, and Lei Chin Su, square, defeated. Searches for heir to Miao Chuang. Chien Tiang. Chief god of rivers. Qi. Sea substance. Chih Ching Su. Seeks Yuan Shi Tian Wang, defeats Wen Cheng, an alleged discoverer of fire, fights Wen Cheng. Personification of fire. Chih Sung Tzu. Cu Shi. Chiht. Si Chu Yung. Chh Chang Tsuyu. Visits Omei Shan, on the steep summit, instructed in the doctrine of immortality, a skillful archer, square, named Shanai. His adventures as Shanai, see Shanai. Children. Position of, in China. Qin. The feudal state which subjugated the other states and established the monarchy. Qin Chia. Mr. Golden Cuirass, protector of scholars. Qin Hung god of Taishan. And Yuan Shi Tian Wang. Qin Mu. Shanai builds a palace for, give Shanai pill of immortality. Qin Shi Huang Ti. The first emperor, and the dragon, SQ. Qin Shu Pao. Adore God. Si Men Shen. Qin Tasheng. Golden Big Pint, an ox spirit, kills the snorter, and Niu Huang, or Bezor. Qin Cha. Si Li Qin Cha. Qin Kong. The four diamond kings of heaven, governors of the four continents surrounding Mount Sumeru, square. Reflected in Taoist kings of heaven. China. Extent in early times, physical features of, Manchu conquest of, vegetable products of, animals of, Mongol rule over, intercourse with other countries, origin of name. Conquered by the Tartars, government of, square, republican, laws of, square, local government of, military and naval system of, square, ecclesiastical institutions, square, professional institutions, accessory institutions. Industrial institutions, square, agriculture in, square, gods of, square, Buddhism brought to, prevalence of smallpox in. Chinese. Theories of origin of, square, problem of sources of civilization of, district occupied by early. Cause of difference between, of north and south, physical, emotional, and intellectual characteristics, domestic institutions, square, expansion of empire, mutilations practiced by, funeral rites of, square, laws of intercourse. Habits and customs, sports and games, arts, sentiments and moral ideas, religious ideas, superstitions, knowledge, square, language, achievements, square, intellect and mythology, rigidity of their mythology. Character of mythology of, sources of mythology of, square, religion, myths of, see mythology. Qingte. In Legend of Yu Huang. Chisel Tooth. A strange man of the south, a criminal, killed by Shanai. Ch Young Siyao. A goddess. Assists the house of Chou with magic weapons. Chou. Colonies of early Chinese established among the Aborigines. Chou dynasty. No Cha and, helped by Chang Tsuya, SQ. Chou Hsn. The Cheng Huang of Hangzhou. Chou Tanai. Si Chou Tzu. Chou Tzu, or Chou Tanai, philosopher, author of Tai Chi Tu Shu. Chou Wang. Tyrant king of Yin, his battles with Wu Wang. Chou Pian. In Legend of Chen Yu Fun. Chu Qi. General of Miao Chuang. Chu Fu Tzu. Si Chu Tzu. Chu Shi. Si Chu Tzu. Chu I, Mr. Redcoat, purveyor of official posts, SQ. Chu Yung. The Red, Fire, Emperor, Chiht, a minister of Huang Ti, victorious over Kong Kong, legend of, square, becomes emperor, defeats Hui Lu. Chu Lu Sun. A magic master, and Chang Tsuya. Chu Pa Chi. The pig fairy in the Shiyu Chi, half man, half pig, Mao Er Chi and, Kuan Yin and, is made a priest and receives religious name of Chu Wuneng, journeys with the master, square. And the widow and her daughters, square, carried away to the lotus cave, square, his reward. Chu Tzu, Chu Shi, or Chu Fu Tzu, historian and Confucian commentator, monistic philosophy of. Chu Wang Sun. Chuang Chou as. Chu Wuneng. Si Chu Pa Chi. Chu Yuan. Statesman poet, drowns himself in Milo River. Chu Ti, Prince. Founder of Peking, Square, son of Emperor Hung Wu, and the sealed packet, Square, begins to build city, and the dragons, Square. Chuang Chou. Si Chuang Tzu. Chuang Tzu, Chuang Chou, or Chuang Sheng. His cosmogony, his super Tao, his dream, and N, philosophical critic, apatheicized, reincarnation of, and the young widow fanning the grave, and his wife. As Chu Wang Sun, and Feng Ho, and Suen Nu, receives from Shang Ti the planet Jupiter. Chun Ti. A gifted warrior, his battles with Tung Tien Chao Chu, Square, and Kung Suen, the one-eyed peacock, and Wu Yun. And the golden-bearded turtle, and Pai Lu Xin. Chun Yu Fun. And the dream of the South Branch, Square, in the kingdom of Huayan, Square, marries the king's daughter, Square, takes office under the king, Square, his greatness, meets with disasters. The prophecies, returns home, the prophecies come true. Chung Cheng. Emperor, and the cursed temple, Sq. Chung K, or K. As god of literature, Square, as god of exorcism, and Su Hao. Canonized. Chung Yang Festival. Chung Li Chuan, or Han Chung Li. One of the 8 immortals, legends of. Circle, the magic. City. God of the, shaving a whole city. City god of Yen Cheng. Legend of the, Sq. Classes. The 4 classes of the people. Classics. See Book of Ceremonial, Book of History, I Ching. Climate. Nature of Chinese. Clothing. Nature of. Clubs. See Accessory Institutions. Codes. Ceremonial, legal, see Laws. Coins. Kinds in use. Concubinage. Confucius. Social and ethical philosopher, his cosmogony, and agnosticism, not a god, Square, titles conferred on. Confucianism. The state religion, effect on mythology, Ju Chao, religion of the learned. Scope of, and Buddhism. Constellations. Worship of the 28, propitious and unpropitious, abodes of gods, Tsui and Paikao, Sq. Korea. Dependency of China, annexed by Japan. Corpse. Feeding of. Cosmetics. Use of. Cosmogony. Myth of Pan Ku, Square, of the I Ching, of Lao Tzu, of Confucius, of Quan Tzu, of Mencius, of Chuang Tzu, Chinese and Babylonian, Nu Qua and, Wen Chang's attendants and, dualistic nature of early. How the Chinese obtained a, Square, Tao and, popular, and the Tai Chi Tu, non-mythological, and constructive imagination. See also Creation. Creation. Mo Tzu and, Miao legends of the, Sq. Crops. Kinds raised. Gods of the. Cursed temple. Legend of the, Sq. Cycle gods, D. Dawn, the bird of. Death. Idea of the gods. Deification. Origin of. Demon K general name for, of pestilence, subdued by the 3 musical brothers, Maryuta, Azuras. Exorcism of, Su Hao A, of the Lotus Cave, Square, Red Child Demon, Square, of Blackwater River, defeat of the Ox Demon, Sq. Dependencies of China. Deva. General designation of the gods of Brahmanism. Dharma. Fa Pao, the law, in Buddhism. See Virachana. Diamond Kings of Heaven, the 4. See Chin Kong. Dipper. See Great Bear. Distribution. Internal, external. Divine Archer. Shanai, or Chh Chang Tsuyu, Sq. Divine husbandman. Si Shen Nung. Divorce. Reasons for. Dog S. Jung tribe with heads of, shooting the heavenly, legend of Jung tribe, Sq. Domestic institutions. Marital, square, filial, domestic customs and habits. Door gods. Si Men Shen. Dragon S, symbol of, on Manchu flag, Pan Ku with head of. Blue, Si Blue Dragon, Feng Pe, god of the wind, are spirits of the waters, generally beneficent, essence of Yang principle. Evil dragons are Buddhist, Nagas, mountain dragons, chief of the scaly reptiles. Description and properties of, square, Buddhist, Feng Shui and, legend of the foolish, spirits in charge of salt waters, spirits in charge of sweet waters, spirits in charge of secondary waters, legend of Qin Shi Huang Ti in the square. Chang Taoling in the Su Chen Chun in the square, a spiritual alligator, and drought in Peking, Sq. Dragon Boat Festival. Origin and nature of. Dragon King S. The Sea Dragon Kings, the Chinese Neptunes. 3 daughters of, mothers of the San Quan, description of, Ao Qin and the 8 immortals, square, legend of Dragon King's daughter, square, and Li No Cha, Sq. Dragon Tiger Mountain. Abode of family of Chang Taoling. Dream of the South Branch. Nan Ko Meng, story of, Sq. Dualism. In early cosmogony, I Ching and, Yin-Yang system of, illustrated by Pantheon. Du Bois. Cited. Duke of Thunder. Si Lei Kung Yi. Earlier Spirit Festival. Earth. Gods of the Earth Mother. See also soil and tea. Earth Dumb. Tia, or Timu, the Earth Mother, one of the attendants of Wen Chang. Earth Mother. Tia, Timu, or Hotiu. See also Earth Dumb. Eastern Air, sovereign of the Eastern Palace. Residence of Tai I, Star Spirit. Ecclesiastical institutions, Sq. Education. Stereotyped at an early age, restricted to study of the classics. Competitive examination system of, modern. 8 immortals. Si Pa Shin. 8 trigrams. Si Pa Qua and trigrams. 18 provinces. China proper. Elam. Probable origin of Chinese in. Elephant, white. Emperoress. Yu Huang, the Jade Emperor, and Si Yu Huang, throne of the 5. Emptiness and devastation. Su Hao, a demon, exorcism of. Environments of the Chinese. Inorganic, organic, sociological. Epidemics. Gods of, square, myths of, square. Ministry of seasonal, god of epidemics afflicts Miao Chuang. Equinoxes. Festivals of the Erlang. Helps to capture Sun Ho Tzu. Examinations. Literary, as means of appointment to office. Exchange. By barter, coins. Weights and measures. Exorcismists. The Wu, ministry of, gods of emptiness and devastation. Expectant wife. Legend of the Extinguisher. Sun Ho Tzu and the Fa Pao. Dharma, the law, one of the San Pao of Buddhism. Fan S. Use of, the fire quenching, Sq. Fanning the grave. Story of Chuang Chou and the widow. Favorable wind ear. Si Shun Feng Er. Feast. Of lanterns, of peaches, Pantieo Hui. See also Festival S. Feathered people. Legend of Fei, lady. Concubine of Meng Chang. Si Huaji Fujian. Fei Lin. Si Feng Pe. Feng Ho. And Chuang Chou. Feng Lin. Vanquished by No Cha. Feng Pe. God of the wind, and Shanai, legend of, a stellar divinity, a dragon, Fei Lin. Feng Shantai. Chang Tsuya builds, for list of promotions to immortals. Feng Shanyan I. Legends in, square, SQ. Feng Shan. Sacrifices offered on Tai Shan by Ching Tsung. Feng Shui, doctrine of, dragons connected with. Festival S, square. Mid-autumn, All Souls' Day, New Year, of lanterns, of the 4 seasons and their equinoxes and solstices, earlier spirit, of the tombs, middle spirit, later spirit, dragon boat, Chung Yang, kite flying. New Year's Eve. Feudal period. Duration of, administrative system in, ecclesiastical institutions in, square, professional institutions in, accessory institutions in. Feudal states. Subjugated by Qin. Fingernails. Worn long by literary and leisured classes. Fire. Chih Ching Tzu, an alleged discoverer of, myths of, square, ministry of, god of, burn shi chi, Chih Ching Tzu, a personification of, Chiht, the Red Emperor, Hui Lu, Shen Nung. The fire-quenching fan, SQ. Fire-quenching fan, the magic, SQ. First cause. Some philosophers and, Mencius and. 5 elements, Wu Xing. 5 graduates. Legend of the, square, gained favor of the emperor, and Chang Tianxi, killed. Their spirits appear at the palace, canonized. Flag. Republican, dragon symbol on Manchu. Flood, legend of the great. Flowers. Chinese love for. Flying cart, land of the. Fo Pao. Buddha, one of the San Pao of Buddhism. Food. Kinds of. Foot binding. Origin of, abolition of. Form. Si Xing. Formosa. A Chinese possession, annexed by Japan. Foxes. Legends of, square, generally of ill omen, powers of, transformations of. Fu Shi, or Tian Huang Shi. Mythical sovereign. Brother of Nu Qua, creator of human beings, a god of medicine. Fu Shen, Yang Xiecheng, or Yang Shi Qi, the god of happiness, origin of, other gods of happiness. Fusang tree. One which grows at the place where the sun rises. Funeral rites, square, the idea of death, recalling the soul, feeding the corpse, the soul tablet, signs of mourning, exacting nature of ceremonial. Cemeteries, G. Games. Gardens. Garuda. Si Lei Kung. Gems, lake of. Yao Chih. Generalissimo S, canonized, square, the 3 musical brothers, Tian Chipiao, Tian Yuan Shui, and Tian Hung'e, Chang Tsuya, SQ. Genii. Shi Wang Mu, head of the, on Kunlun Mountains. Gentry. Shen Shi, a social division. Geological features. Giants. Legends of. Goddess. Of China, square, amuse themselves, marry, sin, punishment of the, die, super triad of. Confucius not a, square, Shen general name for, stellar deities, square, constellations, planets, and stars abodes of, dragons, square, battle of the, square, of agriculture, of the city, of the cycles, of the door, square, of epidemics, square. Of exorcism, square, of fire, square, the 5 mountains, of grasshoppers, of Hades, of happiness, of the immortals, of the kitchen, square, of literature, square, local, tuti, of longevity. Of longevity in the 8 immortals, square, of medicine, chief god of rivers, river god, marriage of the, square, of sailors, of serpents, of smallpox, of the soil and crops, of thunder, square, of time, square, of war, square. Of the waters, square, of wealth, of the wind, of the year, names of numerous. Goddess yes. Earth Mother, of lightning, of mercy, square, and see also Kuan Yin, of mulberry trees and silkworms, of the North Star, of sailors. Old Mother of the waters, square, names of various. Golden Big Pint. Si Chin Tashing. Golden Cuirass, Mr. Si Chin Chia. Golden Mother of the tortoise. Golden Bearded turtle. And Chun Ti. Gourd, the magic. Government. General, square. Local, small scope of. Graduates. Legend of the Five, SQ. Grand Terminus, or Great Ultimate. Grasshoppers, God of. Grave, fanning the. Story of Chuang Chou and the widow. Great Bear. Constellation, Wen Chang in the square. The residence of the fates. Great Bell, casting of the. Legend of the SQ. Great Ultimate, or Grand Terminus. Green Lion. In Kuan Yin legend. Guardianess. Of Buddhist temple gates, of Taoist temple gates, square, of Gate of Heaven, SQ. Guardianship. Of the young, H. Ha. The blower. CCHN Chi. Habitations. In early times, development of. Habits and customs. Festivals and holidays, domestic. Hades. The god of. Han. Early monarchical dynasty. Han Qixin. Fights for Wen Cheng. Han Xiang Tzu. One of the Eight Immortals, legend of. Han Yu, statesman, philosopher, and poet, and Han Xiang Tzu. Happiness. The term Eight Immortals figuratively used for. Gods of, Si Fu Shen, Kwa Tsuai, and Li Ke Tsu. Heron Moon. Head-splitting helmet. Headless people. Legend of. Heaveness, repair of the, temple of, Taoist kings of, mother of, guardian of the gate of, SQ. Heaven Death. Tian Lung, or Suen Tung Tzu, one of the attendants of Wen Chang. Heavenly Dog. Tian Ko, legend of Chang Xin and Sun Ho Tzu. Heavenly Peach Garden. Heavenly Stables. Heavenly Teacher. Si Chong Tao Ling. Hell S. Kings of. Hein. The Snorter. Si Ching Lung. Hein O. Si Chong O. Herdsman. Legend of the Weaver Girl and the SQ. Heroes. Si Chin Zhen. Hill and River Classic. Si Shan Hai Ching. Hindu Kush Mountains. Kunlun Mountains identified with. History. Summary of political, of China, mythology and. Ho Fong. Marries Miao Yin, conspires against Miao Chuang, SQ. Ho Shin Ku. One of the Eight Immortals, and Tai Sui, legend of, mentioned. Ho Li. Conspires against Miao Chuang. Ho Pa. The spirit of the waters, Hang O his younger sister. Holidays. Observed at certain seasons. Horse, the white. Ho Tiu, Tia, or Timu. Earth Mother. Shi Chi. Town and mountain. Ting Chiukung in battle at, burned by fire god, Lu Yu in battle at. Shi Wang Mu. Golden Mother of the tortoise, her story first mentioned, her names, sovereign of the western air. Head of the genii dwelling on the Kunlun Mountains, and feast of peaches, Pantieo Hui, her palace, her birthdays, and Li Ti Kwai. Shi Yu. Miao Chuang Kinglet of. Shi Yu Chi, record of a journey to the western paradise. A dramatization of the introduction of Buddhism into China. Shi Men Pao. Magistrate of Yaxin, and marriage of the river god. Xiang Shan. Monastery inhabited by immortals, Miao Shan goes to, SQ. Xin, or Xinjian. Immortals. Yin and Yang and. Xin Tung. The immortal youth, servant to Mukung. Xin Wang. Si Shou Xing. Xin Yuan Huang Ti. Mythical emperor, Chu Yung his minister, Tai his medical preceptor, and the door gods. Instructed in doctrine of immortality, god of medicine, mentioned. Xing. Form, beginning of. Xing Lin. Kingdom of Miao Chuan. Su Xiang Pa Xin Tung Yu Qi. Su Chen Chun, or Su Sunday. The Dragon Slayer, SQ. Su Hao. A demon. Exorcism of. Su Sunday. Si Su Chen Chun. Su Mi Shan. Si Sumaru. Suan Chuang. Also called Yuan Chuang and Tang Seng, the pilgrim of the Shiyu Qi, Sha Hoshang his baggage coolie, history of, square, his father murdered by Lu Heng. Exposed on Blue River, Chang Lao rescues him, named Chang Lu, waif of the river, finds his grandmother, murderer of his father executed, becomes the emperor's favorite priest, journeys to the western paradise, square. And the white horse, is rescued by Ju Lai, his return home, square, canonized. See also Chn Kongzi. Suan Nu, or Tien Mu. The Mother of Heaven, and Chuang Chou. Suan Tsung. Emperor, and Chang Kwa. Suan Tung Tsu. Somber Youth. See Heaven Death. Suan Shangzhen. Relates history of Yuan Shi Tian Wang. Hu Qing Ti. Adore God. Si Men Shen. Hu Pai Li, chief of the guard of Miao Chuang, sent to burn nunnery of the White Bird. At the execution of Miao Shan. Hua Shan. A sacred mountain in the west. Hua Hu Tiao. The white rat of Mo Li Shou, devours Yang Qian. Hua Ji Fu Zhen, or Lady Fei. And Chang Xin. Hua Kwa Shan. A mountain in the kingdom of Ao Lai. Sun Ho Tzu born on. Huayan. Kingdom, Chn Yu Fanin, SQ. Huainan Tzu. A philosopher, apotheosized, and the eight immortals. Huang Fei Hu. Yellow flying tiger, spears the blower, and spirit of the blue dragon star. Father of Huang Tianhua. Huang Lao. A genie, seeks Yuan Shi Tian Wang. Huang Ti. Si Xin Yuan Huang Ti. Huang Tianhua. Son of Huang Fei Hu, in battle with the Qin Kong, attacks Wen Cheng. In battle with Lu Yu. Hui Lu, or Huashi Qi Tu. God of Fire. Hui Tsung. Emperor. Hun Tun. Si Chaos. Hung Wu. Emperor, greatness of, father of Chu Ti. See also Chu Ti, prince. Hung Chun Lao Tzu. Master of Tung Tien Chao Chu. Hua Ti. Si Shen Nung. Hua Ti Xing Chun. Si Lo Swani. I Ching. The book or canon of changes or permutations, first, but not the oldest, of the classics, reputed origin of, Fu Shi and, contains no cosmogony proper. I too. The solitary indeterminate, makes evolution of chaos possible, Tao and Iu. Superior of nunnery of the White Bird. Ideograms, Ancient Chinese. Immaterial principle. CLI. Immortal S. Xin, or Xinzhen, god of the eight, Si Pa Xin, the eight, and the god of longevity. See also Xin. Immortality, pills of. See pills. Imperfect mountain. Kong strikes his head against the implements. Great variety of Chinese. Indochina. Supposed origin of Chinese in, language of, early tribes in. Indra. The god of heaven, and Yu Huan. Industrial institutions, J. Jade. Symbol of purity, the Jade Emperor. Jade Palace of Abstraction. Janting Fo, or Janteng. Light Lamp Buddha. And Chang Tsuya revives Wu Wang and Tai Sui mentioned. Janting Tao Zhen fights with Tung Tian Chao Chu. Zhen Huang. The 9 human sovereigns. Zhen Sung. Emperor, and worship of Chang Xin. Jai Chi So Chi, N. Jointed Snake. Legend of the Ju Chao. See Confucianism. Ju-I, as you wish, precious stone. Ju-Li Fo. Chinese translation of Tathagata, the highest epithet of a Buddha, literally, thus come, bringing human nature as it really is, with perfect knowledge and high intelligence, he comes and manifests himself, in the myth of Pan Ku. And Miao Shan, Kuan Yin, rescues Suan Chuang. Yung. Tribe with heads of dogs, legend of Sq. Jupiter. Yu Huang the Chinese, given as a kingdom to Chuang Chou by Shang Ti and Tai Sui K. Culpa. A period during which a physical universe is formed and destroyed. Kong Shi. Emperor, and Wang Tan. Cao Chio. Si Shun Feng Er. Cao Ming. Si Chien Li Yen. Khotan. Supposed origin of the Chinese in. King S, multiple character of kingship. The king the source of legislation and the administrator of justice, king as high priest, king of hell, the 4, of heaven, 4, of the salt waters, 4, of the sweet waters, as gods of medicine. The dragon kings, see Dragon King S. Kingdom, the women's. Kitchen god. See Sao Chun. Kite flying. Season of. Knowledge, Sq. Ko Hung author of Shin Shin Chuan, inventor of Pan Ku legend. Koai. Daughter of Kuan Yu. And the casting of the great bell of Peking, Sq. Ku, Mr. and the Fox Girl, Sq. Qua. Brother of Nu, at foot of Kunlun Mountains. Quan Chung. And Pao Shu, the Chinese types of friendship, NN. Quan Lo. His connection with Shou Xing. Quan Ti, or Wu Ti. Title of the god of war. Quan Tsu. A renowned statesman and sage of the feudal period, his cosmogony. Kuan Yin, or Quan Shi Yin. The Buddhist goddess of mercy, Tumu the equivalent of, in Taoism. And Shui Mun Yang Yang, attributes, etc., square, throne of, on Putu, Putu, Isle, the Buddhist savior, and Sun Ho Tzu, and Sha Ho Shang, and Chu Pa Chi, and the white horse, and the red child demon, Sq. See also Miao Shan. Kuan Yu. God of war, square, and Chang Fei, square, and Lu Pei, square, deified. Kuan Yu. A Mandarin, and the casting of the great bell at Peking, Sq. Kuang Ching Tsu. Mythical being who taught the attainment of immortality, also said to be an incarnation of Lao Tzu, battle with Tupao Tao Zhen, fights against Wen Cheng. K. Name for demons. K. A star, palace of the god of literature, Sq. K, or Chung K. As god of literature, square, as god of exorcism. K Xing. Distributor of literary degrees. K Nyo. A monster resembling a buffalo. Kunlun Mountains. Supposed origin of the Chinese in. Nu and Qua at foot of, Shi Wang Mu and, Yushi resides in. Kong. The artisans, the third class of the people. Kung Suan. The one-eyed peacock, and Chun Ti. Kung Kung. A feudatory prince, defeated by Chu Yung. Strikes his head against the imperfect mountain. Kwa Pa. Magician. Kwa Tsui. A god of happiness, L. La Mei. A flower, the 3 musical brothers and. Labor. Division of. Lake. Of gems, legend of the origin of A. Lon Tsai Ho. One of the 8 immortals, legend of. Land. System of tenure of, greater portion under cultivation. Lang Ling disciple of E.T.C. Language, Chinese, nature of, written. Lanterns, feast of. Lao Chun. See Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu. Called also Lao Chun, Taishang Lao Chun, and Shen Pao, teacher, founder of Taoist system of philosophy, and monism, his Tao Te Ching, and Tao, the Hui, third person of Taoist triad, and Yu Huang. Battles with Tung Tien Chao Chu, and Chuang Tzu, fights with Ch Young Xiao, and Li Ti-Kwai, Sun Ho Tzu steals pills of immortality from, helps to capture Sun Ho Tzu. Distills Sun Ho Tzu in his furnace. Later Spirit Festival. Law, the. In Buddhism. Laws. Character of early, lex talionis, legal codes. Legend s, mythology and, of the one-legged bird, of the great flood. Of the building of Peking, square, fox, square, of the unnatural people, square, of the pygmies, of the giants, of the headless people, of the armless people, of the long-armed people, of the long-legged people, of the one-eyed people. Of the one-armed people, of the one-legged people, of the one-sided people, of the long-eared people, of the six-toed people, of the feathered people, of the people of the punctured bodies, of the women's kingdom. Of the flying cart, of the expectant wife, of the wild men, of the jointed snake, of the great bell of Peking, square, of the cursed temple, square, of the maniac's might, of the city god of Yen Cheng, square, of the origin of a lake. Of creation, among Miao tribes, square, of the south branch, square, of Yung tribe with heads of dogs, sq. Lei Chin Su. One of Wu Wang's marshals, attacks Chen Li Yen and Shun Feng kills unicorn of Wen Cheng, legend of, a son of thunder. Called Wen Yu, and Yun Chung Su. Lei Kung. Duke of Thunder, and Garuda, and Vajrapani, caught in the cleft of a tree, and the mysterious bottle. Lei Tzu, or Wen Cheng. God of Thunder, agent to Yuan Shi Tian Sun. President of the Ministry of Thunder, description of, origin of, and Chih Ching Tzu, and Yun Chung Tzu, and Chang Tsuya, confused with the spirit of thunder. Li. The immaterial principle, Chu Shi and, Cho Tzu and. Li Qi. The classical book of ceremonial. Li Qin Cha. Eldest son of Li Qing. Li Qing, or Li Tian Wang. The pagoda bearer, his encounter with Chen Li Yen and Shun Feng square, kills Lo Suan, legend of, square, receives golden pagoda. Is made guardian of the gate of heaven. See also Li Tian Wang. Li Kei Tzu. Known as Sang Fu Xiangkung, a god of happiness. Li Lao Chun. And Shui Mu Nyang Yang. Li Mu Cha. Second son of Li Qing, duel with Lu Yuan. Li No Cha. Third son of Li Qing, defends the Chou, and Ting Chiu Kung, vanquishes Feng Lin, defeats Chang Ke Fang, and Chang Tsuya, fights and slays Tsai Yun Shin Tzu, fights with Chen Li Yen and Shun Feng and Peking. Legend of, square, frequently mentioned in Chinese romance, an avatar of the intelligent pearl, and Lung Wang, square, and Ao Ping, discharges a magic arrow, and Shi Qi Nyang Yang, commits harakiri, temple built to. His statue destroyed by his father, consults his master, is transformed, battles with his father, square, is reconciled to his father. Li Ping. Sixth officer of the Ministry of Epidemics. Li Shaochun. And Cao Chun. Li Shimin, emperor. And legend of the five graduates, square, and Chang Tianxi, square, visited by spirits of the graduates, canonizes the graduates. Li Ti-Kwai. One of the eight immortals, legends of, sq. Li Tian Wang. And Sun Ho Tzu. See also Li Qing. Liao Chai Chi I. 17th century work, and Fox legends. Libraries. See accessory institutions. Li Tzu, or Li Ukou. A philosopher, by some regarded as fictitious, Chinese mythology and, his absolute. Apotheosized. Li Ukou. Si Li Tzu. Lightning. Mother of, and the yin and the yang, myths of, spirit of. Ling Chen Su. Gives the bird of dawn to Shanai. Ling Su. Dragon King. Ling Pao Tian Sun, or Tao Chun. Second person of Taoist triad. Lion, the green. List of promotions to immortals. Given to Chang Tsuya, Tsuya builds Feng Shen Tai 4. Literary degrees. Kei Xing distributor of. Literary examinations. Means of appointment to office. Literature. Gods of, square, Wen Chang and the Great Bear, square, Palace of God of War as God of, square, Chinese, SQ. Lu Qin. Minister of Miao Chuang. Lu Suante. Si Lu Pei. Lu Heng. Murderer of Chn Kongzi. Lu Ai. And the Dragon King's daughter, SQ. Lu Pei, Lu Suante, or Xin Chu. Hawker of straw shoes, and founder of the Shu Han dynasty, and Quan Yu, SQ. Lu Puan. Taoist priest, and Chu Ti, SQ. Living, worship of the Lo Qing Hsn. Si Yuan Shi Tian Sun. Lo Suan, or Hua Ti Xing Chun. Originally Yencheng Xin, President of the Ministry of Fire, description of, Burns Shi Qi. Lo Yu. First name of Pachia, Miao Chuang. Long-armed people. Legend of. Long-eared people. Legend of. Long-legged people. Legend of. Longevity, god of. Si Shou Xing. Lotus Cave, the, SQ. Lu Qi. Legend of, and Princess Tai Yin. Appointed minister of the empire. Lu Shang. Si Chang Tsuya. Lu Tungpin, or Lu Yen. One of the 8 immortals, 296, legends of, SQ. Lu Tungshi. Follower of Qin Shi Huang Ti, draws portrait of the god of the sea. Results of his offense. Lu Yu. President of the Ministry of Epidemics, legend of, in battle at Shiqi, his duel with Mu Cha, in battle with Huang Tianhua, Chang Tsuya and the magic umbrellas, Yang Qian and Yang Zhen and Lu Yen. Si Lu Tungpin. Lung Qi Princess, saves city of Shiqi from fire. Lung Nu. Becomes pupil of Miao Shan, canonized. Lung Wang. Dragon King of the Eastern Sea, his son saved by Miao Shan, and No Cha, square. And son Ho Tzu, saved Chsn Kuangji, M. Ma Tianyong. His fox friend in his marriage, SQ. Ma Yuan Shui. Generalissimo Ma, a three-eyed monster. Ma Tu Yunyang. Lady with the horse's head, CTS and Nu. Magic. Gourd, rope, circle. Fire-quenching fan, SQ. Magicians. Tu Xing Sun, Chu Lu Sun, Kuopa, Yang Zhen, Yafa Shan. Mahayanistic Buddhism. Maitreya. Milo Fo, the successor of Shakyamuni. Manchues, extent of China at time of conquest by, conquer China. Symbol of dragon on flag. Manchuria. As part of China. Maniac's might. Legend of the Mao Chi. Chu Pa Chi and Marichi. Si Tu Mu. Marriage, square, concubinage, age 4, matchmaker or go-between, divorce, remarriage. Changes in ceremonial of, object of the gods, of the river god, SQ. Maryuta. Vedic storm demons. Measures, weights and medicine. Primitive knowledge of, ministry of, gods of. Men Shen. Gods of the door, square, legend of, square. Shen Shu and Yu Lu as, Qin Shu Pao and Hu Qing Ti as, Wei Cheng and Mencius, Meng Ko, or Meng Tzu, teacher and philosopher, his cosmogony, and the first cause. Meng Ko. See Mencius. Meng Tzu. See Mencius. Merchants. Shang. The fourth class of the people. Mercy, goddess of. See Kuan Yin and Miao Shan. Milo. A river, Chu Yuan drowns himself in. Milo Fo. Maitreya, the successor of Shakyamuni. Miao. Creation legends of the square, legend of the tailed tribes, N. Miao Qi. A Taoist priest, and Tai I. Miao Qing. Daughter of Miao Chuang, marries Chao Ke, canonized. Miao Chuang, or Pachia. First name Lo Yu, kinglet of Shiyu, Xing Lin kingdom of, Chao Qin minister to, Chu Qi general to. Pao Te, Paya, queen of, prays for a son, birth of daughters to, exiles Miao Shan, orders destruction of the nunnery of the White Bird, orders death of Miao Shan, square, is punished for burning the nunnery, square. Is healed by Miao Shan, square, conspiracy against, square, goes to Xiang Shan, his repentance, square, canonized. Miao Shan, daughter of Miao Chuang, her ambition, her renunciation, square, at the nunnery of the White Bird, square, worships Buddha. Receives spiritual aid, saves the nunnery, her execution ordered, square, visits the infernal regions, makes hell a paradise, her virtue is tested, and Ju Lai, attains to perfection, becomes a Buddha, and Shan Tsa, square. Tests Shan Tsai's fidelity, sends help to son of Lung Wang, disguises herself as a priest-doctor, square, suffers in order that her father may be cured, square, defeats conspiracy of the king's sons-in-law. See also Kuan Yin. Miao Yin. Daughter of Miao Chuang, marries Ho Feng, canonized. Mid-Autumn Festival, All Souls' Day. Middle Kingdom. A term for the Chinese Empire. Middle Spirit Festival. Military system. In primitive times, in relation to the ruler, weapons. Standing armies, changes in. Ministry yes. Of agriculture, celestial, of epidemics, of exorcism, of fire, of medicine, of smallpox, of thunder and storms, of time, of waters. Ming Huang. Emperor, and Su Hao. Mot. See Mo Tzu. Mo Tzu, Mu Tzu, or Mot a philosopher, and creation, apatheicized. Mo Li. The four diamond kings of heaven, Sq. Mohammedans. Represented in Chinese Republican flag. Monarchical period. Duration of, marriage in, establishment of. Administrative system in, appointment to office in, funeral rites in. Mongolia. A dependency of China. Mongols. Their rule over China. Monism. Transition to, from dualism, Chu Shi and, Lao Tzu and. Monkey. Becomes a god, Sq. Monogamy. In China. Moon. Pan Ku and the, influences terrestrial events, symbol of the, herein the, worship of the, Shanai visits the. Moon Queen. Si Chang O. Mother. The Earth Mother, golden, of the tortoise, bushel, Si Tu Mu. Of heaven, old, of the waters, Sq. Mountainess sacrifices offered on Tai Shan, the five, Wu Yu, Hua Shan, sacred, monkey under the morning. Methods of Mu Kung, Tung Wang Kung, or Tunghua Ti Chun. God of the Immortals. How formed, and Yang principle, sovereign of the eastern air, his servants, Shin Tung and Yu Nu, and Shanai. See also Tung Wang Kung. Mu Tzu. See Mo Tzu. Mu Ye. Battle of Mu Cha. See Li Mu Cha. Mulberry trees. Goddess of Mutilations. Practiced by the Chinese. Mythology, square, definition of, Chinese rigidity and, intellect and, effect of Confucianism on, influence of religion on, effect of Buddhism on, history and, character of Chinese. Sources of Chinese, square, doubt and, legend and, parallelisms between Chinese and Hebrew, n, cosmogony and myth s, prerequisites to, square, periods fertile in, phases of, square, sung philosophers and, a nature myth. Myths of the stars, square, of time, square, of thunder, square, of lightning, of wind, of rain, square, of the waters, of fire, square, of epidemics, medicine, exorcism, etc., square, effect of philosophy on n. Nagas. Mountain dragons. Nails. See fingernails. Nameless. Universe originated from. Nan Ko Meng. Dream of the South Branch, story of, SQ. Nanqi Xinweng. Ancient immortal of the South Pole, helps Chang Tsuya against Shen Kungpao. Orders White Crane Youth to seize Shen Kungpao's head, has it restored, reproves Shen Kungpao, fights with Chang Shao. Nature myth. Yu Huang and A. Navy. Modern Chinese. Neptune, the Chinese. See Dragon King S. New Territory. See Xinjiang. New Year. Festival of. New Year's Eve. Festival of. Nyangsu. And the origin of the Liangti Lake. Niu Huang. Ox yellow, or Bezor. No Cha. See Li No Cha. North Star. Goddess of the Sea Tu Mu. New. First woman. Nu Shi. See Nu Qua. Nu Qua Shi, Nu Shi, or Nu Hua. A mythical sovereign, one of the alleged progenitors of the Chinese race, sister and successor of Fu Shi, repairer of the heavens, description of, Nu and Qua legend. Nu Hua. See Nu Qua. Nung. The agriculturists, the second class of the people, O. Mei Shan. Mountain in Saoxiachuan. Omitofo. Amida, Amida, Buddha, the guide who conducts to the Western Paradise. Oath in the Peach Orchard, the SQ. Officers. Shi. The first class of the people in early times. Officials. CHN, a social division. 1. The Great. First of the celestial spirits. One-armed people. One-eyed people. One-legged bird. One-legged people. One-sided people. Organic environment. Origin S. Of the Chinese race, square, of name China, of worship, of deification, of Tien. The three origins, and see also San Yuan, Shun, Yao, and Yu, legend of origin of a lake, origin of dog worship of Yung tribe. Other self. Idea of the square. See also second self. Otherworld. Parallel to this world, populace. Ox yellow. See Niu Huang. Ox head, king. Father of the red child demon, Sun Ho Tzu and, square P. Pa Xin. The eight immortals venerated by the Taoist sect, and the Dragon King Ao Qin, square, and Ao Qin Sun. Favorite subjects of romance and frequently represented, term used figuratively for happiness, legend of, probably belongs to Yuan dynasty, Li Ti Kuai, square, Chun Li Chuan, Lon Tsai Ho, Chang Qua, Ho Xin Ku. Lu Tungpin, square, Han Xiang Tzu, Tsao Kwa Chiu, square, legend of the eight immortals crossing the sea. Pa Qua. The eight trigrams, when Wang uses, to divine the flesh of his son, discovered by Fu Shi. Pa Si. God of grasshoppers. Pagoda bearer, the Li Qing, SQ. Pai Ma. The white horse of the Shiyu Qi, Sun Ho-Tzu and, son of Dragon King of the Western Sea, Kuan Yin and, changed into a horse. Journeys with the Master to the Western Paradise, square, bearer of the sacred books, Temple of the White Horse, his reward. Palace. Of God of Literature, of Shi Wang Mu, Shen Ai builds, for Qin Mu. Of the Sun, conferred on Shen Ai. Pan Ku. Mythical being, alleged first development out of chaos and fashioner of the universe, the Chinese Adam, myths of, square, creator of the universe, square, origin of, meaning of name, representations of. Death of, and the sun, and the moon, with head of a dragon, with body of a serpent, Eimer and, a late creation, date of legend of, Yuan Shi Tian Wang an avatar of, square, and Tai Yuan, a god of medicine. Pan Quan. God of exorcism, administrator of the infernal regions. Pantieo Hui. Feast of Peaches. Pao Laoya. Imperial Censor, and Tsao Qingqi and Tsao Qingsu. Pao Shu. Quan Chung and, the Chinese types of friendship, N. Pao Te. Maiden name Pia, Queen of Miao Chuang, square, canonized. Pao Yu. In Legend of Yu Huang. Parents and children. Pastors. Also called Lord Lieutenants, the chief of the nobles in a province. Patriarchess. Of Buddhism. Tung Tien Chao Chu. Peaches. Feast of, Chang Tao Ling and the plucking of the peach orchard, the oath in the, SQ. Pearl, the intelligent. Si Li No Cha. Pearly Emperor. Yu Huang, Chang Tao Ling Vicegerent of Peking. Capital of China. Shun Tian Fu, originally Yu Chou, Peipianji Fu in Tang Dynasty, legend of the building of, square, Prince Chu Ti and, square, Lu Puan and the founding of, square, to be called No Cha Cheng, description of, prosperity of. The dragons and the drought in, SQ. People, for classes of the perfect man. Si Chin Zhen. Period of the Warring States. Mythology in Permutations, Book of Si I Ching. Pestilence. Demons of, subdued by the three musical brothers. Pets. Kinds kept. Philosophers. Of the Sung period, and mythology, apatheicized. Philosophy. Effect of Chinese, on mythology. Pai Fong. Mysterious bird belonging to Hui Lu. Pai Xiangyang. Attacks Han Qixin. Pai Siyao. Sister of Ch Young Siyao. Killed by Yuan Shi. Pai Lu Fo. See Pai Lu Xin and Virachana. Pai Lu Xin, or Pai Lu Fo. An immortal, and Chun Ti, becomes a Buddha. Piao. Si Shao. Pig fairy of the Shiyu Chi, SQ. Pills of immortality. And vital force. Chang Taoling and, Shanai and, Heng O and. Pitchpot. A game. Planet S influence terrestrial events, abodes of stellar divinities, Jupiter and Tai Sui. Pneuma. Qi, one of the elements of creation. Pachia. Name of King Miao Chuang. Pa-Iko. Stellar deity of Tsu-Wei constellation, eldest son of Wen Wang, and Ta Chi, canonized. Pa-Shi. And legend of Qin Shin Huang Ti's visit to the spirit of the sea, SQ. Pia. Maiden name of Pao Te. Pole, pivot of the Tu Shu, a palace. Political history. Summary of polyandry. Polydemonism. Great extent of polytheism. Great extent of Putu Island. See Putu Island. Population. In early times. In Manchu period. Presence. Ceremonial governing giving of priestess, Wu, or exorcists, first, king as high, held in low esteem. Priesthood. In Buddhism. Primary matter. Si-chi. Princes of states. Princess of the golden stem. Chnu Fan Marys, Sq. Products. Processes of production, habitations, food, clothing, landworks, implements and weapons, aesthetic products. Professional institutions. Prostitution. Provinces. Administrative divisions of the country. Putiai Tsushi. Immortal, becomes master of Sun Hotsu. Putu Island, or Putu. Throne of Kuan Yin on, Miao Shan goes to. Punctured bodies. Legend of people of the. Punishments. Nature of legal. Lex talionis, codes of, square, changes made by provisional criminal code, of the gods. Pygmies. Legend of, Q.R. Rain. Myths of, square, the master of, red child demon. In Shiyuchi, square. Red country. Si Su Halikwa. Red sand battle, SQ. Redcoat, Mr. Purveyor of official posts, companion of Wen Chang, SQ. Reincarnation. Of Chuang Chou. Religious ideas. Nature of Chinese, 52, Confucianism, state religion, Taoism, Buddhism, influence of, on mythology. Chinese religion not a monotheism, the three religions, square, of the learned. Republic. Races represented in flag of. Republican period. Marriage in, administrative system in. Revenue. Whence derived. River S. Chentiang, chief god of. Marriage of river god, SQ. Rope, the magic, S. Sacrifice S. To Shang Ti, to Tai Sui. See also Feng Shan. Saintess. See Shengzhen. Sakyamuni, see Shakyamuni. Samga. Sang Pao, the priesthood in Buddhism. San Qing. The three heavens of Taoism. San Quan. The three agents 125, San Quan Tati, Tai Shang San Quan, sons of Dragon King's daughters. San Kwa Chi, the story of the three kingdoms, an historical romance, SQ. San Pao. The three precious things, or treasures, Buddha, the law, and the priesthood. San Yuan. The three origins 125, and the divisions of the year, the three true sovereigns, guests of the kingdom of Wu. Scholars. Shi. The first class of the people. Schools. See accessory institutions. Sciences, little cultivated until modern times, SQ. C. Dragon Kings of the, Yang Ho, spirit of the, square, legend of the eight immortals crossing the seasons. Festivals of the second self. And worship of the living, see also other self. Seng Pao. Samga, the priesthood or church, one of the San Pao of Buddhism. Sentiments, aesthetic and moral. Sha Ho Shang, or Sha Wu Qing. A priest in the Shiyuchi, and Kuan Yin, one baggage coolie to Xian Chuang, journeys with the master, square, his reward. Sha Wu Qing. See Sha Ho Shang. Sakya, or Sakya. Same as Sakyamuni Buddha, Shichya Fo, Gautama. See Shakyamuni. Shakyamuni, Sakyamuni, or Shichya Fo. The name used in Chinese literature for Gautama Buddha, and Kuan Yin. Shan Hai Ching. The Hill and River Classic. Shan Tsai. And Miao Shan, square, his fidelity tested, square. Transformation of, canonized. Shang. The merchants, the fourth class of the people. Shang Ti. The supreme ruler, and Ti, worship of, sacrifices to, confused with Tien, confers on Chuang Chou the kingdom of Jupiter. Shang Yang. Legend of the Xiao, or Piao. Part of the constellation of the Great Bear. Shi Qi, gods of the soil and crops. Xiamo Wang. Gods of serpents. Shen. Name for gods. Shen Chen Zhen. And Tai Sui. Shen Xin Chuan. Biographies of the Gods, by Ko Hung. Shenai. The divine archer Chh Chang Tsuyu, and the emperor Yao, square and Fei Lin, shoots the 9 false suns, marries the sister of the water spirit, canonized, builds a palace for Qin Mu. And the pill of immortality, kills Chisel Tooth, receives the sun palace, and the bird of dawn, visits the moon. Shen Kung Pao. Meets Chang Tsuya, tempts Chang Tsuya to desert Chou. His power to separate his head from his body, discards his head taken by ancient immortal of the South Pole, obtains his head again. Shen Lang Su Chin Chun and Shen Nung, or Ti Huangxi. A legendary emperor, and Tai Ai. As god of agriculture, as god of fire, Hua Ti, Yen Ti, as god of medicine. Shen Pao, or Lao Tzu, third person of Taoist triad. Shen Shi. The gentry, a social division. Shen Shu. A door god. Si Men Shen. Sheng Zhen. Superhuman beings, saints. Shi. Officers, later scholars, the first class of the people. Shi Qin. Second son of Shi Chin Chang. Shi Chin Chang. Father of the sons reborn as daughters of Queen Piya. Shi Shan. Third son of Shi Chin Chang. Shi Wen. Eldest son of Shi Chin Chang. Shi Qi Nyang Nyang. And No Cha. Shi Chia Fo. Si Shakyamuni. Shou Xing, or Xin Wang. The god of longevity, at first a stellar deity, as an old man. Legend of, and the 8 immortals, and Chu Yung. Shu Yu. Si Men Shen. Shui. Water, and deliverance from evil. Shui Quan. Ruler of the watery elements. Shui Mu Nyang Nyang. Old Mother of the Waters, legend of, square, and Sun Ho Tzu. And Kuan Yin. Shun. Successor of the great Emperor Yao, with Yao and Yu as the 3 origins. Shun Feng or Cao Chio. Favorable Wind Ear, square, general of Tyrant Chou. Encounters with No Cha, Yang Qian, Chang Tsuya, Li Qing, and Lei Chen Su, square, defeat of, searches for heir to Miao Chuan. Silkworms, goddess of sin. By the gods. Xinjiang. The new territory, or Eastern Turkestan. A dependency of China. 6-toed people. Slavery. Unknown in early times, recognized in monarchical period. Slow carts country. In Shi Chi, SQ. Smallpox. God of, ministry of, prevalence of, in China. Snake, the jointed. Legend of. Snuff. Use of. Snorter. Si Ching Lung. Social intercourse, laws of. Ceremonial observances, ranks, how distinguished, visits, forms of address, presents. A source of misunderstanding between East and West. Sociological environment. Soil, gods of the solitary indeterminate. Ci2. Solstices. Festivals of the somber youth. See heaven deaf. Soul. Recalling the birth of the soul tablet. South branch, dream of the Nan Ko Meng, story of SQ. Sovereignness. The 3 true, Si San Yuan, of the eastern air, of the western air, the 9 human, Si Zhen Huang. Spiders. Sun Ho Tzu and the spine, deformed in infancy to produce a scholarly stoop. Spirit S. Festivals, Tn the abode of the Great One, the Great Unity, an ox spirit, spirit of the blue dragon star, of the white tiger star. Spirit boat, of Ome Shan, Si Tai I Huang Zhen, spirit of the waters, and Si Ho Pa, spirit of lightning, dragons regarded as spirits of the waters, spirit of the sea, square, of the well, of the North Star. Of the South Pole Star. Sports and Games. Su Ha Li Kwa. The Red Country. Su Ta Tian Wang. The Four Kings of Heaven, Taoist reflection of Qin Kong. Su Tuesday. The Four Kings of the Sweet Water Department. Su Ma Cheng. Author of historical records, his account of New Qua. Starus, myths of the square, star worship, star ruler, effects of worship of star goddess. The Great Bear, square, the god of literature, a star god, square, Tai I, bushel mother. Blue dragon, white tiger, Tsen Nu, the god of happiness, the god of longevity, Leo, throne of the five emperors in, the cycle gods, Chang Xin, square, the heavenly dog, Pa Ikao, square, god of the wind. The five mountains. Starting, the great. Tai Chu. States. Parts of provinces in early times, power of princes of. Storms, ministry of. Story of the Three Kingdoms, Si San Qua Chi. Substance. Chi, one of the elements of creation. Sumeru. The central mountain or axis of the universe in Hindu mythology, called Sumi Shan in Chinese. Su Ta. Assassin. Sun S. Pan Ku and the influences terrestrial events, symbol of the worship of the nine false. Palace of the conferred on Shanai. Sun Ho Tzu. Si Sun Wu Keung. Sun Wu Keung, or Sun Ho Tzu. The monkey fairy in the Shiyu Chi, and Shui Mun Yang Yang, 221, represents human nature, various names of, born on Huaqua Shan. Yu Huang and, square, his rod of iron, Grand Master of the Heavenly Stables, Grand Superintendent of the Heavenly Peach Garden, acquires double immortality, and Tian Ko, distilled in Lao Chun's furnace. In jumping competition with Buddha, and Kuan Yin, journeys to the Western Paradise with the Master, square, and the demons of the Lotus Cave, square, saves the Master, square, square, and the Red Child Demon, square. And the demons of Blackwater River, in Slokart's country, square, in the Buddhist temple, returns home, square, canonized. Sun King. Taiyang Ti Chun, or Jaikung Chh Chang, and Legend of Chh Chang Tsuyu, square. Legend of the Chh Chang Tsuyu and Shanai. Sung Dynasty. Philosophers of, and mythology. Super Tao. Chuang Tzu S. Super Triad of Gods. Superstition S. Feng Shui, astrological. Supreme Ruler. Si Shang Tit. Ta Chi. The barbarous concubine of Chou Hsan, the last ruler of the Shang dynasty, and Pa Ikao, and Wen Wang, and Tai Sui. Ta Yu. Si Yu. Tai. A rich family murdered by Wang Che. Tai Chi the Grand Terminus. The producer of the two elementary forms. Tai Chi II. The plan of the Grand Terminus, explanation of, and Chinese cosmogony. See also Chou Tzu. Tai Chu. The Great Starting. Tai I. The Great Change. The Great One, Great Unity, the first of the celestial spirits, square, and Shen Nung, Xin Yuan's medical preceptor, spirit of the pole star. See also Tai I Chin Zhen. Tai Shan. Sacred Mountain, Feng Shan sacrifices offered on. Tai Shi. The Great Beginning. Tai Su. The Great Blank, one of the stages in creation. Tai Sui. Called Yin Chao, the celestial year spirit, square, sacrifices to, corresponds to the planet Jupiter, legend of, son of Tyrant Chou, and Ho Shin Ku. and Ta Chi, canonized by U.T., and Jan Teng, canonized by Chang Tsuya, worship of, divination of locality of. Tai Tsung, emperor, and the door gods. Tai Yin, princess, and Lu Qi. Tai Ai Qinzhen, Taoist priest, square. Appears in a dream to Yin Shi, visits Li No Cha visits. Tai Ai Huangzhen, the spirit of Omei Shan. Taipa Qin Xing, spirit of the South Pole Star. Taishang Lao Chun, or Lao Tzu, third person of the Taoist triad. Tai Wu Fuzhen, daughter of Shi Wang Mu. Taiyuan Xing Mu, an hermaphrodite, mother of Yuanshi Tian Wang, and Pan Ku. Talismans. Chang Taoling and Tao. The Wei, the solitary indeterminate. The Super Tao. Tao Ti Ching. The canon of reason and virtue, first called Lao Tzu. Taoism. The doctrine of the Way, as a religion, one of the three religions, square, the three heavens of, the three pure ones of, Yu Huang and the first pope of, Chang Taoling, founder of modern, the kings of heaven of, the Kuan Yin of, Si Tumu, guardians of Taoist temple gates. Darim Valley. Supposed origin of the Chinese in Tartars. Conquer northern China. Conquer the whole of China. Tathagata. July Fo, Shakyamuni, or Buddha. Temple S, of heaven, to God of literature, guardians of gates of Buddhist, guardians of gates of Taoist, legend of the cursed, SQ. Teng Chiu Kung. Spirit of the blue dragon star, and No Cha, and Huang Fei Hu, and Yang Qian, overthrown by Chn Chi, kingdom of the blue dragon star conferred on Thousand Li I. Chn Li Yen. Three causes. Worship of the SQ. Three faces, people with the three heavens. Si San Ching. Three musical brothers. And the law May flower, cure the emperor Suen Sung, and the spirit boat, subdue the demons of pestilence. See also Tian Chipiao, Tian Hung'e, and Tian Yuan Shui. Three pure ones. See Taoism. Three religions, the SQ. Three body people. Three heads. Throne of the five emperors. Wu Ti Tso, a celestial palace. Thunder. Myths of, square, ministry of. Duke of, Si Lei Kung, son of, and Si Lei Chen Su. T. The earth, and forgiveness of sins. Ti Chi. The 12 terrestrial branches. Timu, Tia, or Hotiu. Earth Dumb, the Earth Mother. One of the attendants of Wen Chang. Tisang Wang. The god of Hades. Tia. Si Timu. Tibet. A dependency of China. Tian Mu. Mother of Lightning. Tian. Heaven, worship of, abode of the spirits, confused with Shang-Ti. One of the sources of happiness. Tian Chipiao. Third of the three musical brothers. Tian Fei. Heavenly concubine, helps Yin Chao. Tian Huangxi, or Fu Shi. As god of medicine. Tian Hung'ai. Second of the three musical brothers. Tian Kansas. The 10 celestial tree trunks. Tian Ko. The heavenly dog, and Chang Xin, and son Ho Tzu. Tian Mu, or Suen Nu, mother of heaven, and Chuang Chou. Tian Yuan Shui. Eldest of the three musical brothers. Tian Ho. Goddess of sailors. Tian Lung. Heaven Deaf, one of the attendants of Wen Chang. Tiger. Yellow flying, white, sea white tiger. Time. Myths of, square, ministry of. Tupao Tao Zhen. Disciple of Tung Tien Chao Chu, fights with Kuang Xie Ching Su. Tobacco. Use of. Tombs, festival of the tones. In Chinese speech. Tortoise, golden mother of the two. A measure, name of a constellation. Tu Mu. Bushel mother, goddess of the North Star, the Indian Marichi, mother of the nine Zhen Huang, the Kuan Yin of Taoism, her palace, Tu Shu, the pivot of the pole, description of Tu Shu. The pivot of the pole, palace of Tu Mu. Trade. Foreign, home. Triad. The super triad, of gods, Taoist. Transformations. Of the fox. Treasures, the three. Si San Pao. Trigrams. A combination of lines used in divination, the 8 Pa Qua. Triratna. The three embodiments. Tsai Shen. God of wealth, Chao Kunming prototype of, legend of, canonized. Tsai Yun Shin Su. Fights for Wen Cheng. Tsen Nu. Also called Matio Yun Yang, goddess of mulberry trees and silkworms. Legend of, also represented as a stellar divinity. Tsao Qingqi. In legend of Tsao Queqiu. Tsao Qingsu. Becomes the immortal Tsao Queqiu, SQ. Sao Chun. The kitchen god, square, reports to Supreme Being. Chief of Yuanshi Tian Sun's secret police, origin of worship of, Li Shaochun and Tsao Queqiu. One of the 8 immortals, legend of, SQ. Tsao. Usurping general in period of the Three Kingdoms, and Kuan Yu. So Chih. Si Chisel Tooth. So Chiu Ming. Author of the Tso Chuan, Commentary on the Annals of Confucius, and Chinese Mythology. Tu Xing Sun. Magician, and Ting Chiu Kung, marries Chnu. Tu O, Taoist magician, teaches the snorter. Tu Ti. Local gods, report murder of the ties to Yu Huang, sent to help Miao Shan in the nunnery of the White Bird, report the approaching execution of Miao Shan to Yu Huang, carry Miao Shan to Putu Island, find companions for Miao Shan. Help Miao Shan. Tung Wang Kung, Mu Kung, or Tum Hua Ti Chun. God of the Immortals, and Shanai, square, and the spirit of lightning. Si Mu Kung. Tum Hua Ti Chun. Si Tung Wang Kung. Tung Tien Chao Chu. First of the patriarchs of the Taoists. And Hung Chun Lao Tzu, battle with Chun Ti, the buffalo of, given pill of immortality in taken to heaven, and the 28 constellations, and Chun Ti, SQ. Turkestan, Eastern. Supposed origin of the Chinese in. See also Xinqiang. Su Tung. Changya at, the god of, Wen Chang and the spirit of. Tziyuhang Tashi. Immortal. Su Hua. In legend of Chun Yu Fun. Su Wei Xing. Constellation. Si Pa Ikeu. Umbrellas, the magic. Unicorn. Kainyo. Unicorn precipice, the unity, the great. First of the celestial spirits. Unnatural people, square V. Virachana. Dharma, the highest of the three embodiments, Triratna, representing purity, Chinese Pai Lu Fo. Vajrapani. God of thunder. Si Lei Kung. Vega. Star, legend of Aquila and, SQ. Viharapala. Si Wei Tow. Wang Chang. Disciple of Chang Taoling. Wang Che. Brigand chief, begs of Shi family, murders Tai family. Wang Tan. A minister of state, and the cask of pearls. Kong Xian. War, god of, SQ. Waters. Shanai Mary's sister of the water spirit, myths of the square, dragons are spirits of the ministry of the Yang Ho, spirit of the sea, square, Shui Quan, ruler of the watery elements. Shui Moon Yang Yang, old mother of the square. See also Ho Pa and Shui. Waters, Thomas. Consul General, on Fox Lore. Wei. See Tao. Wealth, God of. See Tsai Shen. Weapons. Weaver Girl, the Herdsman and the Legend of SQ. Wei Cheng. Associated with Door Gods. See Men Shen. Wei Tio. Viharapala, the Deva protector of Buddhist temples and of the law of Buddha. Weights and measures. Well, spirits of the Wen Chang. God of literature, attendants on, legends of, square. And the Great Bear, square, palace of Wen Chao. Wife of Chn Kongzi, and mother of Suan Chuang, Sq. Wen Chung. Famous generalissimo, canonized as god of thunder, his battle with Chang Tsuya, square, attacked by Huang Tianhua. Wounded by Chang Tsuya, forced to retreat, fights more battles, drawn up to heaven, another account of his battles and death. See also Lei Tzu. Wen Wang. Father of Pa Ikao, prisoner of Cho Hsin, Ta Chi and Lei Chen Tzu and Wen Yu. See Lei Chen Tzu. Wen Chu Tian Sun. Fights with No Cha. Western Heir, sovereign of the White Bird Nunnery. Miao Shan goes to, square, set on fire, saved by Miao Shan. White Crane Youth. Captures Shen Kumpao's head. Restores the head, kills Ch Young Xiao, fights and defeats Chang Shao. White Elephant. In Kuan Yin legend. White Horse. Of Suan Chuan. White Tiger. Pa Hu, spirit of the White Tiger Star, guardian of Taoist temple gates. Wife. Status of, legend of the expectant. Wild Men. Legend of Wind, spirit of the Fei Lin, vanquished by Shanai, myths of the See also Feng Pa. Women, the lovely. In the Shi Yu Qi, Sq. Women's Kingdom. Legend of the Worship. Origin of Shang Ti, of Tien, of the living, the second self and, of the kitchen god, of the harvest moon, of the sun, of Chang Xin, of constellations, of Tai Sui, of Wu Yu. Origin of dog worship of Yung tribe. Wu. Exorcists. Wu Xing. The Five Elements. Wu Sankei. General of Emperor Xie Chengcheng. Wu Ti. Si Quan Ti. Wu Ti Tso. Throne of the Five Emperors, in the constellation Leo. Wu Wang. First king of the Zhou dynasty, his battles with Zhou Wang, and Chang Tsuya, killed and revived. Wu Yu. Five Mountains, gods worshipped in cases of fever, etc., legend of SQ. Wu Yun. Immortal, and Chun Ti, Y. Yang. The male principle in nature, its hold on the Chinese mind, Mu Kung and, united with Yin in marriage, conjunction of Yin and, enlightening. See also Yin. Yang Xiecheng. Si Fu Shen. Yang Qian. Nephew of Yu Huang, and Hua Hu Tiao. And Chen Yu, battles with Chen Li Yen and Shun Feng square, and Lu Yu. Yang Ho. Spirit of the Sea, Sq. Yang Shi Qi, Si Fu Shen. Yang Zhen. Magician, and Lu Yu. Yao. 1. Early Emperor, with Shun and Yu as the three origins. And Shanai, square. 2. Tailed Miao Tzu tribe, legend of, N. Yao Chh. Lake of Gems. Yao Wang. God or King of Medicine. Year. Spirit of the, Tai Sui, square. See also San Yuan, Tai Sui, and Time. Ye Chen Chao. And Lei Kung. Ye Fei Shan. Magician. And Chang Qua. Yellow Flying Tiger. Huang Fei Hu, spears the blower. Yellow turbans. Tribe, Liu Pei, Quan Yu, and Chang Fei make war on. Yan, district of Yan Xiecheng. Legend of the city god of SQ. Yan Ti. Si Shen Nung. Yan Wang. The king of the hells, and Miao Shan and Sun Ho Tzu. Yan Cheng Xin. Si Lo Suen. Yin. The female principle in nature, its hold on the Chinese mind, Shi Wang Mu and, ancestor of the spirituality of the united in marriage with Yang, conjunction of Yang and, yin-yang mirror, and lightning, yin-yang baskets. Yin Xiecheng Su. Spirit of the White Tiger Star, canonized by Chang Tsuya. Yin Chao. Si Tai Sui. Yin Kaishan, father of Wen Chao. Yin Papai. Courtier of Chou Wang, father of Yin Xiecheng Su. Yin Shi. Wife of Li Qing, SQ. Ymer. The Scandinavian giant out of whose body the world was made. Compared with Pan Ku. Yu, or Ta Yu. The great Yu, one of the early kings, with Yao and Shun as the three origins. Yu Chou. Si Peking. Yu Xiechuen Shan Ta, or Chenchue Ta. Pagoda near Peking, origin of, N. Yu Huang. Also called Yu Huang Shang Ti, the Pearly Emperor, popular head of Taoist hierarchy, the Jade Emperor, the Pure August One, history of, square, the Chinese Jupiter, legend of, identified with Indra, subject of a nature myth. And Shui Mun Yang Yang, allows reincarnation of sons of Shi Ch in Chang, sends spiritual aid to Miao Shan, prevents execution of Miao Shan, orders punishment of Miao Chuang, canonizes Miao Shan and her family, and Sun Ho Tzu, SQ. Ui. A spirit. Yu Lu. Adore God. Si Men Shen. Yu Lung San Tai Tzu. Son of Dragon King of the Western Sea, and the White Horse. Yu Nu. The Jade Maiden, servant to Mu Kung, and the Spirit of Lightning. Yu Shi, or Chih Sun Tzu. The Master of Rain, resides in the Kunlun Mountains, and the Shangyang. Yu Huang Shang Ti. Si Yu Huang. Yu Ting Chin Zhen. Makes plan for defeat of Chen Li Yen and Shun Feng Er. Yuan Chuang. Si Suen Chuang. Yuan Hung Generalissimo. Serves Chou Wang. Yuan Shi Tian Sun, Lo Qing Hsn, or Tian Pao. Son of Pan Ku and Taiyuan Xingmu, first member of Taoist Triad, first cause, highest in heaven, square, god of lightning, avatar of Pan Ku, square. First named Yuan Shi Tian Wang, legend of birth of, square, fights Tung Tian Chao Chu, and Tu Mu, presents list of promotions to immortals to Chang Tsuya, kills Pai Xiao. Yuan Shi Tian Wang. Si Yuan Shi Tian Sun. Yu Shi Fo. The Master Physician Buddha. Yun Chung Tzu. A hermit, causes the death of Wen Chung, teacher of Lei Chin Su. Yun Tai Mountain. The peach plucking on, uniform with this volume. An Introduction to Mythology by Louis Spence, FRAI. The Myths of Greece and Rome by H. A. Gerber. With 57 full-page illustrations. A classic volume. At once a fascinating storybook and a valuable work of reference. Myths of the Norsemen from the Eddas and Sagas. By H. A. Gerber. With 33 full-page illustrations. Myths and Legends of the Middle Ages by H. A. Gerber. With 36 full-page illustrations. Hero Myths and Legends of the British Race. By M.I. Butt, M.A. With 51 original full-page illustrations. Myths and Legends of the Celtic Race by T. W. Ralston. With 46 original full-page illustrations. Myths and Legends of Japan by F. Hadland Davis. With 32 plates in color. The Myths of Mexico and Peru by Louis Spence, FRAI. With 52 full-page plates and other illustrations. The Myths of the North American Indians. By Lewis Spence, FRAI. With 30 plates in color and other illustrations. Myths and Legends of Ancient Egypt by Lewis Spence, FRAI. With 16 plates in color and 32 other illustrations. Myths of the Hindus and Buddhists by Sister Nivedita, Margaret E. Noble, and Dr. Ananda Kumaraswamy. With 32 plates in color by Indian artists. Myths and Legends of Babylonia and Assyria. By Lewis Spence, FRAI. With 8 plates in color and 32 plates in halftone. Hero Tales and Legends of the Serbians by Vojislav M. Petrovich. With 32 plates in color. Myths and Legends of China by E.T.C. Werner. With 32 full-page illustrations in color and gold. Hero Tales and Legends of the Rhine by Lewis Spence, FRAI. With 24 full-page illustrations.